Dear, your eldest senior sister broke through the Jedan stage not long ago. She still needs time to stabilize her realm. It's better if we don't disturb her cultivation. Ji replied with a smile. Looking at these outstanding disciples below, she was even happier than she was when she broke through the realm. Just then, she suddenly looked toward the entrance of the Great Hall with a twitch in her expression. There, Qian Yurong had just landed on the ground and was taking steps towards the Grand Hall. When Qian Yurong walked inside the main hall, everyone including Ji Yu frowned. Ji Yu even got up and flew from her seat to Qian Yurong's side, inquiring with concern, Yurong, what's with the blood on your body? You are injured. In my Red Luan Peak, who dares to make a move against you? Speak to your master, and he will do you justice. Seeing the concern on Ji Yu's face, the guilt in Qian Yurong's heart increased. She lowered her head, not daring to look at Ji Yu, and said in a low voice, Can Master open the Great Hall's spell formation? I don't want the other sect members to hear what I'm about to say. Ji Yu frowned, a bad feeling rising in her heart. She took out the spell formation token and flicked it, and immediately the entire hall was isolated by a protective spell formation. Seeing this, the three Sun Yuniangs also moved closer, wanting to know what had happened. Qian Yurong glanced at the three of them, but there was no intention to drive them away. She had been without a home since she was young, and had long since made Hongluan Peak her home over the years. The master and sisters were her family. Yurong, no one on Red Luan Peak can hear what we're saying right now, so you can say whatever you want. Ji Yu spoke in a deep voice. Poof! With a muffled sound, Qian Yurong kneeled on both knees, directly in front of Ji Yu, touching the ground with his head. In a deep voice, he said, Master, Yurong is sorry for your cultivation over the years. Ji Yu frowned and stepped forward to assist Qian Yurong. Get up and say what you have to say. No, disciple will kneel and finish. Qian Yurong stubbornly opened his mouth. Master, although I broke through to Jiedan some time ago, I only forcibly condensed the Dan, and there were cracks on the Jindan, causing the aura to escape. Originally, I was thinking of talking to you about this matter after participating in the Peaks competition, but my condition has suddenly deteriorated over the past few days, and I'm afraid that if I don't last until the Peaks competition, my cultivation will regress as a result. Why are you only talking to me about this now? A trace of anger surfaced on Ji Yu's face. In the end, he even raised his arm and fiercely slapped Qian Yurong. Snap! A bright red palm print was left on Qian Yurong's face. Qian Yurong didn't flash or avoid, thinking that it would be good for her to let her master take out all his anger on herself, and the guilt in her heart would be alleviated a bit. But in the next second, Ji Yu bent down and fiercely hugged Qian Yurong. You silly child, why didn't you talk to me the first time something like this happened? No matter what happens to you, you are my Ji Yu's disciple. If there is anything we can figure out together, that is, why are you hiding this matter? Don't you even believe me? I am angry. Angry that you are hiding this matter from me. Do you even have me as your master in your heart? Qian Yurong looked at Ji Yu in a daze. As strong as she was, tears flowed from the corners of her eyes after hearing Ji Yu's words, murmuring, Master, I'm sorry, arigato. No, it's wrong. Seeing Qian Yurong in such a state, Ji Yu's heart softened. The tone was much softer. The Peaks competition won't work this time. We have another time, but your life is only once. There aren't any chances for a do-over. Let go of your mind and let me see your injuries. With that, she ferried her own spiritual energy into Qian Yurong's body. Ji Yu's brows furrowed and her face was very grave. Several minutes passed before she retracted her hand and said seriously, Your situation is very serious. If you had come to me from the beginning, I would still have a way to alleviate your injuries, but now I don't have any good solutions. I'll go to the Dan Hall of the Patriarch's Peak right now and inquire about it, to see whether or not they have a good way to treat your injuries there. Master, you've already done enough for me. I simply can't recover from my injuries, so don't keep running around for me. Qian Yurong cried into tears. She was about to become a waste, and her master still had no intention of giving up on her. Beside him, Qin Lan empathized. Back then, when she was injured in her own origin, her master teacher waited for her in the same way, seeking medical treatment for her all over the place. In the end, there was really no way out, and the master had to give up. But spare a thought. Once a famous physician appeared in a certain place, she would still inquire to find out. What kind of words are you saying? I haven't even given up. Are you going to give up first? Ji Yu frowned and lightly shouted, crying like what? Give me wait here. I will go and return. After saying that, she directly set up a recluse and flew out of the Great Hall. Only a tear dripped from the corner of her eye even as she flew not far from the Great Hall, but it was quickly dried by the wind. Inside the main hall, Qian Yurong was helped up by Sun Yunyang. Looking at the direction Ji Yu left in a daze for a long time, Sun Yunyang's eyes rolled and her heart rose. The master told her to gather information about Qian Yurong and find his handle. Now it's not just a matter of taking the initiative to send the handle to your own hands? Eldest sister, how good Master Zun treats you. We senior sisters have all seen it in our eyes, and to be honest, I'm a little jealous. Sun Yunyang spoke softly. This time, not only did senior sister not blame you, but she also took the initiative to put down her stature to beg the people of the Dan Hall of the Patriarch's Peak for you. You wouldn't be unaware of what the people of the Patriarch's Peak are like. This time around, if you recover from your injuries, don't let senior sister down again. Qian Yurong's brows were furrowed, his fists were clenched, and his knuckles were white, extremely unsettled inside. Although what Sun Yunyang said was a bit solid, she wasn't wrong in the slightest. She clenched her teeth and said in a deep voice, "Don't worry, senior sister, for the sake of Master. In the future, even if it's a mountain of swords and fire in front of me, I will dare to break through." Chapter 72. Sister, believe me, you'll know if you taste it. Seeing Qian Yurong's determined face, Sun Yunyang's heart immediately had a number. The plan was to inform her master of this when she returned, so that she could be rewarded again. It's going to take longer this time. We didn't even gain much last time. Sun Yunyang murmured mentally. Xin Lan, who was on the side, was thinking about whether or not to ask the sect leader to see if the sect leader could step in to help Qian Yurong. She was able to recover even with the damage to her origin, so she thought that eldest sister's injuries could be healed as well, but she wondered if this move would displease the godfather. In a moment, we can ask senior sister Chu privately. She's closer to the sect leader. Xin Lan thought so in his heart. Chu Waist, on the other hand, was staring at Qian Yurong, intending to report Qian Yurong's situation to the sect leader afterwards. Qian Yurong's situation was very much in line with the sect master's criteria for selecting people to join the sect. Each of the three women in Chu Waist's heart had their own thoughts. At this time, Qian Yurong was still unaware that he was being thought of by each of the three senior sisters in front of him. There is also ongoing self-loathing guilt. The three of them waited for a full half-day within the Great Hall. Only then did he finally see Ji Yu return. Only the expression on Ji Yu's face was sullen, and it didn't look like anything good had come out of it. Ji Yu came in front of Qian Yurong, and under the latter's gaze, she hesitated for a split second and shook her head and spoke. Yurong, there is no good solution on the side of the Patriarch's Peak, but don't give up. I'll continue to find other solutions for you. She asked the hall master of the Dan Hall at the Sovereign Peak, and the answer she received was that Yurong's injuries were absolutely incapable of recovery, and that she was destined to have her Jindan collapse and her cultivation regress. But in order not to blow up Arigato, she didn't say the words to death. Although he already had an answer in advance in his heart, Qian Yurong was still a bit lost after hearing Ji Yu's words, but it was also a quick acceptance of reality. After all, she was well aware of her situation before she came here, and knew that the chances of recovery were extremely low. Thank you, Master, for hanging on to me, and I'll do my best to find other methods myself later on. Qian Yurong opened his mouth. She couldn't say anything to give up in the face of her master. Well, that's right, Ji Yu nodded in relief. Then he looked at the several Sun Yunyangs at the side and instructed, "You three also keep an eye out for information in this area, and look for a way to save your eldest sister." "It's Master," the three Sun Yunyangs responded in unison. "Well, you guys go ahead. I'm a bit tired." Ji Yu rejoined the chair above and sat down, her entire body looking a little tired. After a few of Sun Yunyang's glances at each other, they left the Great Hall one after another. After Chu Waist returned to his residence, he immediately took out a sound transmission note to inform Yi Ba of the news he had just obtained. Yi Ba, who was resting within the cave, heard the voice within the sound transmission note, and a hint of joy appeared on his face. I thought that Qian Yurong was a Jeden cultivator, and if he wanted to take him down, he might need to raise his cultivation some more and slowly plot. But now, Qian Yurong was revealing his own brokenness. Cultivators are also human beings, and as long as they are human beings they have weaknesses. According to Chu Waist's description, Qian Yurong's weaknesses were his own injuries and his guilt towards Ji Yu. So much for his chance. Without waiting for him to reply to Chu Waist, Sun Yunyang on the other side sent him a similar message. This made Yi Ba even more determined in his heart. He immediately asked Chu Waist to work with Sun Yunyang to find a way to pull Qian Yurong into the Dragon Ambergris sect. Nowadays, at his request, the Dragon Ambergris sect's initiation vetting was very strict. Not only do you need to take all sorts of heavenly vows of secrecy, but you also need to wear a snoop-proof mask when you go in and out. With a set of processes in place, there was no way anyone would be able to discover his true identity. Of course, the heavenly oath cannot force the other party to swear. It can only be voluntary. It is unlikely that one would make a heavenly oath to bind oneself if one is not forced to do so, or if one has someone familiar with the beliefs to draw one into the religion. Apparently this is the case with Qian Yurong, and even if things went awry and the two of Chu Waist and Sun Yunyang were exposed, he could simply abandon them. Sun Yunyang can just use the soul seal to get dead. Chu Waist is absolutely subordinate, the first loyal dog under him. He himself will die for the secrecy initiative. Yi Ba used to have a screen name called Steady Man. and when you see this name, you know how steady he is. After receiving the command, Sun Yunyang took the initiative to approach Chu Waist and discuss the specific plan with him. Although Chu Waist somewhat despised Sun Yunyang, she could only do as she was told by Yi Ba. What does senior sister have in mind? Chu Waist inquired. She had not come into contact with Qian Yurong a few times before, and the number of times she had talked to him was limited, so she did not know his character very well. Eldest senior sister was brought up by Master Zun, and has the deepest feelings with Master Zun. Now that it's failing Master Zun's expectations, her heart is bound to be very hard to bear. As long as we grasp this point, it won't be difficult to convince her. Sun Yunyan laughed lightly, her tone very confident. Moreover, as long as Qian Yurong tasted the benefits once, it would be impossible for him to leave the Dragon Ambergris sect again. After saying that, Sun Yunyang opened her mouth to inquire. Senior sister, do you still have that thing on you? What are you going to do? Chu Waist frowned. If we want eldest sister to trust us, of course we have to give her a taste of something sweet. As long as we see results, the higher the probability of her agreeing to join the sect. Sun Yunyang replied. Chu Waist nodded his head after a little contemplation. What Sun Yunyang said was somewhat reasonable. Let's go. I'll go with you to find eldest sister, and when the time is right, I'll take it out. Sun Yunyang's heart was dim. She had wanted to trick the things from Chu Waist's hands to her own. It was used, but she didn't mind it at all. In order to practice to improve the cultivation? No shame. However, it was obvious that Chu Waist had defenses against her, making her plans fall through. Good. Sun Yunyang nodded her head in agreement, and together with Chu Waist, they flew towards Qian Yurong's residence in the back of the mountain. Moments later, they arrived at Qian Yurong's residence. Qian Yurong was surprised at the sudden arrival of the duo and looked at them suspiciously. Second senior sister. Junior sister, why are you free to come to my place? Immediately after she seemed to have thought of something, her tone changed and she continued. If you are here to comfort me, there is no need to do so. I am not as fragile as you think. Eldest senior sister, you've misunderstood. We're here because we want to help you recover from your injuries. Sun Yunyan laughed lightly. Big sister is still going strong as usual. Qian Yurong was stunned and frowned in the next second. You two don't need to waste your time on me. My situation is clear to myself. It's impossible to recover. Master asked you guys to keep an eye out for a way to heal my wounds for me. Just saying that. You don't have to take it to heart. Although the two Sun Yunyangs were well-intentioned, she didn't think that the two Sun Yunyangs, the foundation establishment cultivators, would have any good ideas. Don't want them wasting their time on their own either. Eldest sister, what we said is true. Sun Yunyang's face turned serious as she said in a deep voice. She then even asked Chu Waist to take out the things she had prepared in advance. Chu Waist took out a half-human tall jade bottle from within his storage bag and placed it in front of Qian Yurong, with a sealed talisman affixed to the mouth of the bottle. In a deep voice, he said, Eldest sister, the things in here can help you recover from your injuries. You can try it. Sun Yunyang on the side stared with wide eyes, her heart very envious. She had to work as a cow all day long to get that much, but Chu Waist casually took out so much. In the future, we have to get on good terms with Chu Waist. Sun Yunyang secretly said, I know you guys mean well, but there's really no need. It won't work. Qian Yurong frowned, not wanting to waste time. Eldest sister, you're like this now anyway. How much worse can things get? You trust us, just taste it and you'll know the effect of this item. It will definitely make you eat many surprises. Sun Yunyang persuaded, with a beat of her voice. She continued, Eldest senior sister, you said that for the sake of master. You were willing to break through even the mountain of swords and the sea behind it, but now you're not even willing to try what's right in front of you. It's not like there's poison in here. If you have any concerns, I can taste it for you first. Sun Yunyang pointed at the jade bottle. Chapter 73, If you don't drink, someone else will. Chu Waist subconsciously frowned. She seriously suspected that Sun Yunyang was trying to cheat food and drink. Upon hearing this, Qian Yurong fell into hesitation. He thought that the second senior sister was right, and it wouldn't be any less important to try her out. She came to the jade bottle, tore off the charm, opened it, and looked inside. Inside was some white spirit liquid, so abundant that it almost overflowed. Smelling the familiar smell, Qian Yurong's brows knitted slightly. Looking to Sun Yunyang, it's the same thing that senior sister was thinking of, but this item is different from the others and has a very good healing effect. Sun Yunyang explained. When she saw the contents of the jade bottle, her eyes stretched and she craved for it, secretly swallowing her saliva. Qian Yurong shook his head. Forget about this kind of thing. It won't work. She had thought it was some kind of elixir. I didn't realize it was such filth. Although what she cultivated was also the swift dragon swallowing technique, cultivation also required a spirit slave, but it was always cultivated and absorbed from a distance, never actually touched. Trying to get her to cultivate directly with this thing would be better than letting her die. Is senior sister worried? I can show you. Sun Yunyang stepped forward and used her mana to ingest some of the spirit liquid inside the jade bottle, swallowing it directly into her mouth and absorbing it. A hint of satisfaction appeared on its face, and those who didn't know thought that it had used some kind of spirit medicine that affected the soul. Chu Waist cursed a big greedy girl. Where did he not know that Sun Yunyang was taking advantage of the situation, when she thought that she had gotten the spiritual liquid in front of her, and now it was being swallowed and absorbed by Sun Yunyang again. Her body felt a vicious chill, like their spit was eaten by someone else. Look, senior sister, this thing is not poisonous. Sun Yunyang opened her mouth with intent. Qian Yurong shook his head once again. I'm not doubting that it's poisonous, but I think it's just a waste of time. Sun Yunyang and Chu Waist glanced at each other, their hearts somewhat puzzled. They had already persuaded them so much, so why was Qian Yurong still unmoved? Princess, I know that you detest this object greatly, but there is no good way out of this situation. So what can you do if you try? Right at this moment, the white snake puppet drilled out from Qian Yurong's chest. Shut up. I don't need you to teach me how to do things. Qian Yurong's face was solemn. No one can force her to do what she doesn't want to do. No, you have to try, or I'll go find Peak Master G. You were just in the Peak Master's hall, but you personally promised the Peak Master that you wouldn't give up. Now what are you doing? Xiaoyu spoke angrily, her heart anxious. The breath on Qian Yurong's body stagnated, and he could no longer speak. She didn't want to make her master work for her anymore. Eldest sister, try it. The effects of this stuff are excellent. If eldest sister doesn't drink it, but there are people who want to drink it, Chu Waist softly persuaded. He also glanced at Sun Yunyang as he spoke, obviously connoting what Sun Yunyang had just done. Senior sister Chu was right. Sun Yunyang laughed lightly. She just wants to drink it. So what? Chu Waist himself is not the same. The two of them are the youngest sister not laughing at the second sister. Qian Yurong's face showed difficulty, and finally, as if resigned to his fate, he deflated and muttered, I'll eat. Look at it. It looks like it's about to go to the torture chamber. She closed her eyes and lifted the jade bottle before pouring the spirit liquid inside towards her mouth. Her body reflexively tried to vomit, but she forced it all down. Immediately afterward, she sat down on her knees and began to operate her gong method to absorb the benefits. Xiaoyu looked at her own princess's slightly bulging stomach and stared wide-eyed. So much that I can't believe I drank it all in one gulp. She was very shocked. Plus, if she remembered correctly, absorbing the stuff didn't have to be done orally. One could run the Taiku dragon swallowing technique to refine it into pure yang qi and absorb it across the air. Has the princess forgotten? There was some doubt in her mind, but now that the princess was drinking it all, she couldn't be bothered. Also, I've heard that it absorbs better when taken orally. This would also be good for the princess to recover from her injuries. When Sun Yunyang and Chu Waist saw this, they were both relieved. As long as Qian Yurong sensed the healing effect, there was no fear that he would not take the bait. Only the spirit snake golem in front of him was a nuisance. In a moment, it would be necessary to make them swear the heavenly Tao oath together. Chu Waist thought so in his mind. Qian Yurong struggled to absorb the benefits. A large amount of yang qi converged towards her dantian, and drilled into her jindan. What shocked her was that her jindan fissure, which had always been escaping spiritual energy to the outside, had significantly slowed down the rate at which it was escaping to the outside with the help of a large amount of yang qi. And most importantly, the cracks on the jindan had actually recovered a trace. It was extremely tiny, but it gave her hope for recovery. As a result, she absorbed it even harder. It took a full half day for her to absorb the last trace of yang qi. At this time its stomach was also flat again. She opened her eyes, a look of obvious joy on her face. Although the crack on her dantian jindan had not completely healed, at this time, it was no longer escaping spiritual energy outwards, and the gap was temporarily blocked by those yang qi. In other words, the matter of her cultivation regression was temporarily resolved, but that yang qi was also escaping and needed to be replenished in time, or the power within the jindan would still rush out. In other words, she needed more spirit liquid. How is eldest sister? Did it help with your injuries? Sun Yunyang inquired with a smile. In fact, just by looking at Qian Yurong's expression, she could already guess the outcome. Well, it has a great effect. Where did you guys get this stuff from? Are there more? Qian Yurong nodded and inquired. Of course there is, but you've seen the effects of this thing. It's not mortal. We've risked a lot to help senior sister. Sun Yunyang spoke. I can let senior sister get more, but what I say next? Senior sister can't speak to anyone outside of us and will need to make a heavenly Tao oath. She has to swear too. Chu Waist pointed at the white snake puppet and added, a heavenly Tao oath? Qian Yurong frowned, a little hesitant in his heart, but thinking carefully about Sun Yunyang's words, they seemed to make sense. This kind of healing artifact was definitely not that easy to obtain. In the next second, She nodded and instantly swore the heavenly Tao oath of secrecy, and motioned for Yu, who was beside him, to do the same. After doing so, she once again looked at Sun Yunyang. Senior sister, can you speak now? Senior sister Chu, you speak. Sun Yunyang signaled Chu Waist. The latter, after pondering for a split second and organizing his words, said, this thing originated from the Dragon Ambergris sect, and the second elder sister and I, we are both members of the sect. If senior sister wants to obtain this item again, she can only join the Dragon Ambergris sect and obtain the sect master's gift. Chapter 74 Yao Young. Don't look back. I'm the bishop. You want me to rebel against the clan? Never. Chen Yurong's face changed as he heard this, and he gruffly said, it was impossible for her to betray the clan as she was favored by her master. Even if she could never recover from her own injuries, she would not join another sect. In her opinion, if she wanted to obtain that kind of tainted spiritual liquid, she would inevitably have to pay a corresponding price. Otherwise, that so-called Dragon Ambergris sect would not have helped her for nothing. There must be some other purpose. Eldest sister, you've misunderstood. No one is asking you to rebel against the clan. Sun Yunyang frowned. You can understand the Dragon Ambergris cult as a small group within the sect that helps each other. Our purpose is to help disciples like you who have obstacles to cultivation. As long as you have the help of the sect leader, your hindrances will soon be unblocked and your injuries restored. How can there be such a sect? I don't believe that your sect master doesn't have other purposes. Qian Yurong still frowned. In her opinion, maybe what Sun Yunyang said was true, but it was only the current situation, and there was no guarantee that its so-called sect leader would not threaten them to do something later. Whether you believe it or not. Eldest sister, what I want to tell you is that the sect leader is a selfless person who has given his all for us. In addition this opportunity, we begged the sect master to beg for it. Not that the sect master asked us to have to drag you into the sect. Junior sister and I are doing this because we want to keep senior sister from turning you into a waste. And secondly, we don't want to watch senior sister continue to labor over your affairs. Sun Yunyang persuaded earnestly. Hearing Sun Yunyang mention her master, Qian Yurong instantly hesitated. In the bottom of his heart, he murmured, if I can recover from my injuries, master would be very happy. And let me be blunt, what does senior sister have on her that is worthy of the sect master's scheming? Seeing Qian Yurong's hesitation, Sun Yunyang struck the iron while it was hot. Qian Yurong subconsciously contemplated, discovering that one really doesn't have much in the way of items worth coveting by others. In addition, she had just drunk the tainted spirit liquid and realized that it wasn't as bad as she had imagined. And the taste was not bad at all. How about trying it? Consider it for the sake of master. She was a little shaken. She didn't want to continue to make her master worry and labor over her. Also, if she really recovered from her injuries, she would be able to shine for Red Luan Peak at the Peaks competition. It wasn't in vain that her master had cultivated her for years. Princess, second senior sister is right. You have nothing to lose anyway. Xiaoyu spoke up from the side to concur. Xian Yurong glared at Xiaoyu. I'll tear you apart if you keep talking too much. She's the eldest senior sister. Doesn't she want to lose face? How dare she belittle her in public? He himself was a Jiedan cultivator now anyways. She then looked at Sun Yunyang and said in a deep voice, I can join the Dragon Ambergris sect, but I won't do anything to betray the sect. Seeing Qian Yurong finally agree, Sun Yunyang had a small smile on her face. Eldest sister, no one will force you to do anything. As long as Qian Yurong got a taste of the real sweetness, if she was allowed to leave at the back, it's not possible for her to leave at all. Senior sister, since you have agreed, then I will now perform the initiation ceremony for you. Chu Waist stepped forward and said in a deep voice. Good. Qian Yurong nodded. Now that the decision was made, she didn't hesitate. At Chu Waist's request, Qian Yurong made several heavenly Tao oaths in succession. Finally, he successfully completed the initiation ceremony and was successfully initiated into the church. Junior sister, when can I meet with the sect master and ask for his favor? Qian Yurong spoke with slight anticipation. She wanted to recover from her injuries as soon as possible and surprise her master. Eldest senior sister is not in a hurry. There are many other disciples in the sect who need help like you. The sect master has limited time and has to rain on the parade. Thus the need to line up a number. Sun Yunyang opened her mouth to explain. We will come over to inform you when it's time to queue up for eldest senior sister. That's so. Qian Yurong nodded gently, slightly lost in his heart. But she understood Sun Yunyang's words perfectly. Eldest sister, I will intercede with the sect leader for you to help heal your injuries as soon as possible. Chu Waist spoke softly in a soothing voice. Well, many thanks to the two senior sisters. Qian Yurong bowed and said gratefully towards the two Sun Yunyang. Inside the cave, Chu Waist was lying on his side on the bed giving Yiba a report on the situation. Lord Sect Leader, eldest sister has already joined the sect. What time do you plan to have her come over? Behind him, Yiba spoke after a moment of silence. Tomorrow. He couldn't wait to confirm Qian Yurong's information. It was very interested in its imperial physique. By taking down Qian Yurong earlier, he would also be able to gain experience earlier. Good. I'll go back tonight and inform her of this news. Chu Waist nodded. The body moved back automatically. Having come here, naturally you can't go back empty-handed. Not to mention the fact that she had just wasted so much spiritual liquid. That was her personal stash for almost a month, and she had to find some of it back. Yi Ba knew Chu Waist's mind well. However, this time Chu Waist and Sun Yunyang both had merit and were rewarded for their accomplishments. 1 hour later. It's almost time. Go! Yi Ba spoke, signaling Chu Waist to leave. Chu Waist immediately got up and activated the sealing formation on his body to prevent the benefits from being lost. Its walk is not even daring to twist its thin waist too much. Along with the light fanning out from the teleportation array, its figure disappeared inside the cave. Seeing this, Sun Yunyang, who was standing by the side, took the initiative to go forward to clean up. Gentle and attentive, Yi Ba had also gotten used to this life of having someone close to him. From questioning the Zaibatsu life, to understanding the Zaibatsu life, to now becoming the Zaibatsu life. In the future he also intends to go beyond the plutocratic life. Master, I also put in a lot of effort this time for eldest sister to successfully enter the sect. Sun Yunyang carefully opened her mouth and took the initiative to claim credit for herself. Opportunities are earned. How will she get the benefits if she doesn't earn them? You did really well this time. Yi Ba nodded. Sun Yunyang is a bit of a schemer. Used well, it might not fail to be a sharp blade in his hand. Do you still want a reward this time? Yi Ba smiled. Seeing Yi Ba in a good mood, Sun Yunyang was also bold. Moving forward, she said, wants more rewards yet. Don't be too insatiable. Yi Ba spoke softly. 1 hour. Grasp it yourself. Next day, noon. Qian Yurong came to the cave on time. Its face wore a golden goddess mask, while its body was dressed in purple and gold robes. She curiously surveyed the cave in front of her, but did not find a single person in it. Her mind was puzzled. Chu Waist told her that the sect leader was waiting for her behind the teleportation array. How come there's no one in sight now? She stepped out of the teleportation array, intending to take a look inside those stone houses in front of her. There's writing carved on every stone house here. It could be someone else's place. Qian Yurong murmured in his heart, guessing. Suddenly, she looked to the ground. On the rough stone floor was a green-colored belly band. She thought there was something familiar about the smell on it. After a moment's hesitation, she bent down and tried to pick it up. Just then, the spell formation outside a stone house behind it opened, and a figure stepped out from within it. Qian Yurong's sideways head could only see a pair of calves. She wanted to get up and check back, but just then, a strong palm rested on her hindquarters. At the same time a slightly magnetic voice rang in her ears. Arigato, don't turn around. I'm the Godfather. Pop. Knock on the board. The following is a simulated scenario to fill in the blanks. Pens given to you. Please feel free to play. Chapter 75, Asking for the Blessing of the Bishop. Qian Yurong's movements lurched, maintaining his current position. Her body stiffened and for a moment she didn't know what she was going to do. It was the first time a man had touched her body. A strange sensation that she couldn't describe. Her body instinctively wanted to dodge, but she was afraid of upsetting the Godfather. Before she came, her junior sister had instructed her to follow the sect leader's orders in everything. Otherwise it is likely that you will not receive the gift of the patriarch. So the Godfather told her not to turn back, and she obeyed and did not turn back. Don't even dare to move. Before Yi Ba's eyes, Qian Yurong's information surfaced. Name, Qian Yuyong. Physique, 9 Phoenix Wanine body, Imperial grade. Realm, Early Jiedan stage. Qualification, Earth grade Golden Spiritual Root. Talent, Soul Puppet Empathy, King. Avatar, None. Puppetry, 2nd order upper grade. Technique, Swallowing Dragon technique. Spells, Advanced Charm. Soul Splitting. 1000 chances. It's true that it's an Emperor grade physique, and the spiritual root is also an Earth grade. There's also a King grade talent. It's a big profit. Yi Ba's heart secretly rejoiced after reading Qian Yurong's information. He glanced at Qian Yurong and realized that he was quite obedient. Let's not move. It's pretty obvious that you want to get ahead, and its body is superb. The place that should be big is really big. Tolerance is great. The old ancestors really don't lie. Yi Ba secretly said. At this moment, Qian Yurong was as if he had been pressed to pause time. The corners of Yi Ba's mouth hooked into a smile as a thought surfaced from his heart. Speaking softly, Yurong, I already know the purpose of your coming here. Did you voluntarily join my Dragon Ambergris sect? Sect leader. I joined voluntarily. Qian Yurong replied seriously. Please also ask sect leader to help me recover from my injuries. Arigato will be grateful. Good. In that case, I will perform the final rite of initiation for you. The boon will also be bestowed upon you after your initiation into the sect. Yi Ba nodded his head gently. Yurong understands, and begs for sect leader's favor. Qian Yurong replied in a deep voice. Things had come to this point, and she had no room for backtracking. No matter what came next, as long as she could get the healing spirit liquid and cure her injuries, it would be fine. Well, the initiation ceremony will take a day, during which you cannot make any movements. Now, I'm going to start. Yiba also started Qian Yurong's initiation ceremony after barking out an instruction. If you want to enter the ambergris cult, then first taste the dragon's saliva. Qian Yurong had kept in mind Yiba's admonition and had not moved. It was a good thing that she was a Jidan cultivator. Even if she wasn't a physical cultivator, her physical body had been nourished by spiritual chi for many years, and was far more powerful than an ordinary person. Even if you stay in one position for a day and don't move, it's not much of a problem. So she wasn't too worried about the so-called initiation ceremony. The next second a breeze whipped by and purple and gold robes flipped. How can there be wind inside the cave? Qian Yurong was puzzled in his mind. However, they did not dare to probe out their divine senses to perceive it. It was only because she had already sworn a heavenly oath that she could not freely use her divine sense perception within the cave, much less to spy on the Godfather. Chu Waste says it's a sign of respect for the Godfather, otherwise it would offend him. Of course she was going to do as she was told. Without the cover of her robes, she felt a slight chill in herself. Without waiting for her to think about it, another breeze whipped by. The ties around her waist were taken away and floated aside. Without the restraints, the purple and gold robes were suddenly open. The air is cooler, but just as Qian Yurong frowned, she felt the scorching heat behind her. On Qian Yurong's chest, a white spirit snake puppet fell to the ground. Its writhing body, twitching from time to time, seemed to be suffering from some pain and enduring it desperately. Xiao Yu's heart was bitter. She kind of regretted following her. She was refined into a puppet by the princess due to her special talent, and she shares her feelings with the princess. As long as the distance wasn't too great, the princess's feelings were synchronized in her. This is an excellent talent that allows her to act as an extension of the princess limbs, helping her to better maneuver her puppets against her enemies, unleash the greater power of the golem. But now, she's being victimized by this gift, and she can only do her best to restrain herself for fear of delaying the princess's business and upsetting the sect leader into chastising the princess. But she was no match for the princess, though she did her best, still not able to control themselves, and finally even fell right out. It's over. Qian Yurong clenched her lips and glared fiercely at Xiaoyu. How could Xiaoyu suddenly come out at such an important moment? Isn't this adding to the chaos? She had made it to the point where the sect leader blamed her and she was planning to kneel down and beg for mercy. Either way, she was going to get enough boons this time. But to her relief, the patriarch did not stop to blame. Instead, the initiation ceremony continued. Xiaoyu was glared at by Qian Yurong, and the aggravation in her heart increased. But she really can't help herself. Princess, I'm sorry, Koyuki murmured mentally. If puppets had tears, she would have already cried. Scenario simulation to fill in the blanks. A day later, the initiation ceremony was over. Yurong, congratulations, you are now a member of our Dragon Ambergris sect. Yiba spoke softly. He then turned around and returned to his house. After opening the formation, he said indifferently, I bestowed enough gifts for you. You can leave. Qian Yurong moved his body and saluted towards Yiba's house. Thank you, sect leader, for your gift. After saying that, it grabbed Xiaoyu, who was already paralyzed on the ground, and stepped away. Xiaoyu's puppet body had problems and needed to be taken back to be reconditioned. On the teleportation array, Qian Yurong struck his abdomen with a pinch to open the confinement spell. It was the way her little sister had taught her. After a flash of light, Qian Yurong had already disappeared inside the cave. Inside the room, Yiba looked at the panel that popped up in front of him. 9 Phoenix Luanin Body Experience plus 400. 9 Phoenix Luanin Body, 400/100000. Quality Imperial. Soul Puppet Empathy Experience plus 400. Soul Puppet Sympathy, 400 out of 10. 000. Quality King. Puppetry Experience plus 400. First Order Lower Puppeteer, 400/10, can Breakthrough. Gold Root Qualification plus 400. Extreme Gold Spiritual Roots, 400 out of 10. 000. A Great Harvest. A joyful color flashed under Yiba's eyes. Qian Yurong was definitely a treasure demoness, bringing him so much experience in one go. Worthy of being a Jidan cultivator, terrifying as hell. Yiba muttered. That's just him. Anyone else would probably have no crumbs left. Shaking his head, he also broke through the puppet art in passing. A large amount of knowledge about puppets flooded into his mind, being grasped by him in an instant. Look at the panel again. The puppeteer's grade above had been raised to the top of the first rank. Chapter 76 Unexpected Harvest. 9 Phoenix Luanin Body Evolving Early? Inside the back mountain chamber, Qian Yurong plopped down on his knees on the futon and cultivated with a deep heart. At this time, half an hour had passed since she had come from Yiba. She had begun cultivating and absorbing those benefits the first moment she returned. Xian Yurong looked inward at her dantian and saw that it was filled with a large amount of yang qi, which filled up all the gaps on her jindan, sealing off any possibility of the jindan leaking out its aura to the outside. Moreover, this yang qi was still mending the gaps on her jindan, repairing her injuries. The effects of the spiritual liquid on the sect leader's true body are much better. There is hope for the recovery of the injuries on my body. The more Qian Yurong cultivated, the more alarmed he became. She had never seen a Yuan Yang with such a counterintuitive effect. Even a crack in her jindan could be healed. And that wasn't all. She realized that her cultivation had even refined a tiny bit as a result. It was important to know that she was a Jiedan cultivator, and raising a single level of cultivation would require a great deal of time and aura. But now, with the day spent practicing at the sect leader's place, it was only a little more than a day. This kind of cultivation speed could be said to be quite terrifying. There's still a lot of Yuan Yang remaining in my body. It can still help me cultivate for 3 more days. Qian Yurong murmured in his heart. In 3 days, although she couldn't recover all of her injuries, she could still repair a small half of them. As long as she continued, her injuries would definitely be healed before the peaks competition. Master teacher, I won't let you down this time. Qian Yurong swore in his heart. He vowed to get a good ranking in the great competition of the peaks. I'll have to trouble second senior sister and junior sister again later on to put in a few good words in front of the sect master. Qian Yurong mused in his mind. She wanted more opportunities to cultivate and recover from her injuries as soon as possible. Suddenly, her face flushed. She had never come into contact with a male cultivator before. Yesterday was the first time, and she had expected to be repulsed and disgusted. However, after actually experiencing it, I found that it was very different from what I had once imagined. It was indeed a bit painful at first, but as the practice continued, it became smoother and smoother at the back. Maybe the sect leader is special, not an ordinary male cultivator. Qian Yurong couldn't help but speculate. She didn't believe that all male cultivators were like that. Yes, it must be that the sect leader is special, or else its bestowed gifts wouldn't have such a powerful effect. The more Qian Yurong thought about it, the more he felt that what he had guessed was the truth. After all, as soon as she saw those spirit slaves within the sect, her heart was subconsciously very tired of them. As the cultivation continued, the cracks on her jindan were being gradually repaired. 2 days later, Qian Yurong, who was in the middle of cultivation, suddenly opened his eyes. The bottom of his eyes were filled with shock. At this moment, within her dantian, there was actually an additional Phoenix Luan silhouette. Although her own 9 Phoenix Luanin body was an imperial grade, it was a growth type of physique. As her realm rises, it will gradually awaken. And judging the degree of awakening relied on the number of Phoenix Luan true spirit void shadows in the body. From 1 Phoenix to 9 Phoenixes, awakening 9 Phoenixes is the full awakening of the 9 Phoenix Luanin body. Originally, she had only awakened 3 Phoenix Luan true spirits, but just now, a 4th Phoenix Luan true spirit appeared within her. Her 9 Phoenix Luanin body further awakened, and she had already awakened a Phoenix Luan true spirit when she broke through the Jiedan. According to her experience, it was impossible to awaken the Phoenix Luan true spirit again at this time. After all, in the past, she had only deepened her awakening when she broke through the realm. It's the first time I've encountered a situation like the one in front of me. The only difference from previous cultivations is that I absorbed a large amount of Yuan Yang this time, Qian Yurong mentally muttered. Realizing this, she couldn't keep her mouth shut in surprise. The breath was slightly disorganized. She didn't understand what kind of divine artifact could have such a heaven-defying effect. She couldn't imagine. If only I could continue to receive help from the sect leader even after I recover from my injuries. Qian Yurong had some expectations. If her 9 Phoenix Luanin body could be completely awakened, her cultivation speed would be even faster. What exactly is the sect leader's origin? Immediately afterward, her mind pondered, extremely curious about Yi Ba's true identity, but she had taken the heavenly Tao oath, and even if her heart was like a kitten scratching, she couldn't really test the sect leader. With how powerful the sect leader is, there really is no need to obtain anything from me. Qian Yurong's heart rose with a pang of guilt when he thought of how he had questioned Sun Yunyang and Shu Waste at first. Both senior sisters were doing her good, yet she was suspicious of both of them. Find a way to compensate the 2 senior sisters in the future. Qian Yurong murmured in his heart. She then sank her heart and began to cultivate, intending to absorb the last bit of the remaining benefits cleanly. Such a divine object, you can't afford to waste a single bit of it. To do otherwise would be a waste. On the other hand, inside the medicine field in the back of the mountain, Qin Lan was squatting inside the medicinal field and was scrutinizing a spirit herb in front of him. Surprisingly, it really has an effect. Suddenly, a look of surprise appeared on her face as she muttered out. This spiritual grass was named Red Sun Grass, the main ingredient for refining the second-order upper-grade Red Sun pill. The Red Yang Dan had a very good assisting effect on the cultivation of these foundation establishment disciples of theirs, and could increase their cultivation speed by 20%. But the red sun grass needs to grow environment is extremely picky, need to be rich in young chi place. The whole great extreme happiness immortal sect, 36 peaks within the only including the main peak of the 5 peaks have red sun grass. Fellow disciples on other peaks who needed red yang dan had to go to the 5 peaks to purchase it, and there weren't many of them, causing the value of the red sun dan to remain high. Half a month ago, she had also cultivated a red yang grass with the sect leader's yang chi on a whim. I didn't expect the results to be surprisingly good. The transplanted red sun grass in front of him grew extremely well, showing no signs of being affected. Moreover, its medicinal age increases extremely fast. Half a month has added 2 years of medication. This rate of cultivation she had never seen before. With this red sun grass, I'll be able to refine the red sun pill, and then I'll be able to earn a large amount of spirit stones to use for cultivation, he muttered in his heart, very excited, and intends to purchase more red sun grass seedlings to transplant. Also she needed more yuan yang. What is senior sister thinking about? Why are you so happy? Right at this moment, Chu Waist dropped down from midair and came to Qin Lan to inquire curiously. Some time ago, she had asked the sect master to refine the perfect foundation establishment pill, and now it had finally been refined. The one who had obtained the perfect foundation establishment pill was also the first to come over to Qin Lan. In addition to the one promised to Qin Lan, the remaining 8 on the sect leader's body were also in her possession. The sect leader instructed her to exchange the foundation establishment pill for other cultivation resources. So it's senior sister Chu's senior sister, come and see. This is the red sun grass that I cultivated. Seeing that it was Chu Waist, Qin Lan immediately greeted her warmly. Senior sister Chu is closer to the sect master, so if we let senior sister Chu help, we will definitely be able to get a large amount of spiritual liquid. He himself could work together with senior sister Chu to water a large yang field for planting red yang grass, thus refining a large amount of red yang dan. Red sun grass? Chu Waist curiously approached and inquired doubtfully. Senior sister, isn't this red sun grass only found in those 5 peaks? Can our red Luan peaks environment cultivate it as well? Chapter 77, just a little more talk. In the face of Chu Waist's inquiry, Qin Lan did not answer at first. Instead, after smiling mysteriously, he invited Chu Waist to come inside the grass hut on the side. Only after opening the protective spell formation did she smile and say, here's the reason. She opened her storage bag and took out a jade bottle from it and opened it. Chu Waist didn't even need to look. He knew what was inside just by smelling the flavor. She was all too familiar with this. At the same time, she vaguely guessed what Qin Lan had done. After all, she had even attempted to refine spirit pills with this item in the first place. Senior sister cultivated the red sun grass with Lord Sect leader's spiritual liquid? Chu Waist raised an eyebrow. Exactly. Qin Lan nodded and gave Chu Waist an approving look. Would senior sister be interested in cooperating with me for a bit? And we'll develop a young field together to specialize in cultivating the red yang grass? You have to know that the remaining 5 peaks use the red sun grass to refine the red sun dan, earning more than enough spirit stones every year. Chu Waist glanced at Qin Lan in surprise. How come she hadn't realized before that Qin Lan was so business-minded? But it's a good thing to get a piece of the action yourself. His Holiness side should be happy to do the same. Senior sister took the initiative to seek my cooperation. How could I refuse? I'll be responsible for the spirit liquid needed to cultivate the young field. Chu Waist smiled and nodded, agreeing to the matter. Good. The cultivation of the red sun grass as well as the refining of the red sun dan. I'll get it from my side. As for the profit share, let's split it 50-50? Qin Lan inquired tentatively. Senior sister says so. Chu Waist responded with a smile. It was already good enough for her to get 50% of the profit just by paying some spirit liquid. Spiritual liquids don't need to cost spirit stones, just more lip service. Both were happy when they finalized the matter. Chu Waist also took the opportunity to take out the perfect foundation establishment pill and sent it to Qin Lan. Senior sister, this is the foundation establishment pill that was refined from the last foundation establishment pill material, and according to the agreement, this is your share. Good. With this perfect foundation establishment pill, the spirit stones to acquire the ascending sungrass seedlings will be available. Originally, I was thinking of obtaining some spirit stones from other places, but now it seems that I don't need to. Qin Lan smiled as he received the foundation building pill, the one from last time. She had already used it to exchange for other cultivation resources. Immediately after that, the smile on her face tightened and she inquired in a low voice. Senior sister, you are well aware of senior sister's situation. Can you pull senior sister into the sect and request the sect master to heal her injuries? Today, Chu Waist happened to come to her place, and she was telling what she had not been able to ask last time. She couldn't bear to see eldest sister give up just like that. She even turned into a waste of feeling and didn't want her eldest sister to go through the same thing. Eldest sister was a very strong person, and if she were to fall apart from then on, it would be quite a blow to herself. There is also the masteress side, whose heart is already hurt enough over the matter of the eldest sister. Zhu Waist glanced at Qinlan in surprise and fell slightly silent. She wanted to tell Qinlan that eldest sister was already a member of the sect. However, she could not freely reveal the identities of the members of the sect without the orders of the sect leader. Seeing that Zhu Waist did not say anything, Qinlan thought that Zhu Waist was being difficult. A hint of contemplation appeared on his face as he continued. If that doesn't work, then can I give the spiritual liquid I've collected to eldest sister? Zhu Waist shook her head. Senior sister, I will inform the sect master of this matter, but I cannot guarantee how the sect master will decide. She could only say this to appease Qinlan, lest he or she make a wrong decision and reveal the identity of the godfather. At the end she didn't forget to remind, Senior sister, the sect leader's spiritual liquid can only be used by ourselves. Without the sect leader's permission, it cannot be given to other outsiders. I'm already grateful that you were able to inform the sect leader of this matter, and what the outcome will be afterward can only be done to the best of one's ability. Qinlan nodded inside. It's good that senior sister understands. You are well aware of how the sect master treats us. Once our dragon ambergris sect secrets are exposed, not only will the sect master be implicated, but also everyone else will be left without food. Hearing Qinlan say so, Zhu Waist's heart also breathed a sigh of relief as he continued to exhort. What senior sister said, he nodded approvingly, and at the same time realizing that he had just almost made a big mistake. 2 months later, inside the cave, Yi Ba opened his own panel. Name, Yi Ba. Physique, Supreme Yang Immortal Body, Immortal Grade. Sword Spirit Body, Wonderful Grade. 9 Suns Absolute Vein, Wonderful Grade. Burning Sky Body, King Grade. Greenwood Source Body, King Grade. 9 Phoenix Luanine Body, 12. 400 out of 100. 000, Emperor Grade. Realm, Peak of the Middle Stage of Foundation Establishment. Qualification, Superior Water Spiritual Roots. Superior Earth Spiritual Roots. Superior Fire Spiritual Roots. Earth Grade Gold Spiritual Roots. Earth Grade Wood Spiritual Roots. Talent, Grass and Tree Sense, Wonderful. Soul Puppet Cosense, Kings. Avatar, 5 Elements Formation Center. Alchemy, Lower Grade. 3rd Order. Talisman Making, Upper Grade. 2nd Order. Formation Technique, 3rd Order Lower Grade, 1200/8000. Puppetry, 2nd Order Upper Grade. Technique, Great Ultimate Bliss Taoist Technique. Spells, Fireball, Fire Python, Gengjin Sword Chi. Nutritional Technique. Fixation Technique. Seeing the results on the panel, a hint of a smile appeared on Yi Ba's face. With his intention to take special care of Qian Yurong, in 2 months' time, he had harvested a full 12,000 experience from Qian Yurong. The result was that his golden spiritual root had been upgraded to Earth Grade, and in addition, he had successfully obtained the Soul Puppet Cosense talent. Even the puppetry technique had been upgraded to the 2nd Order upper limit. All that was left was that the 9 Phoenix Luanine body didn't have enough experience. In addition, he had gained a great deal of experience from Qinlan. Harvested the Greenwood Source Body and the Earth Grade Wood Spirit Root. The Greenwood Source Body could keep his body always energized, making his whole person look younger and more energetic. But that was just the surface. On the inside, the vitality in him was stronger. Not only do you recover faster from injuries, along with that, his longevity had doubled. The lifespan of a foundation establishment cultivator was usually over 200 years, while he now had a lifespan of 500 years. It was already similar to the lifespan of a Jidan cultivator. Just then, light flashed on the teleportation array. The figure of Stephanie emerged on it. A hint of displeasure was evident on its face. Senior brother, can it be me today? Bu Shanghua spoke bluntly, with some pleading in his tone. When Yi Ba saw this, he laughed bitterly inwardly. In these 2 months, he had mainly been on Qian Yurong and Qinlan, so he had naturally taken less care of Bu Shanghua and the others. That's why Stephanie is the way she looks today. Mournful and humble prayers for sweet rain. Come over here. Yi Ba nodded his head gently. Now that he had harvested all the experience from Qinlan, he could free up his position in time. Staggering cultivation like this still affects efficiency. Maybe I can let them all enter their own cultivation rooms and turn on the protective spell formations within the room so that I can help this one and then go to the next cultivation room to help the other female demons. Yi Ba murmured in his heart. The problem wasn't with him, it was with the fact that they were absorbing it too slowly at Step Shanghua. It's like a floor drain draining. Too much water and too little drain. The water naturally drains slower. Chapter 78 Heavenly Thunder Whipping. Master's Substitute. 2 days later, Yi Ba stopped cultivating. The panel prompt popped up in front of it again. Absolute subordination established. Finally, today, he and Shanghua also established absolute subordination. The number of loyal dogs under his command has increased by 1. Now counting Sun Yunyang, there were already 4 of them. The ranks are getting bigger and bigger. One day, the entire Great Ultimate Bliss Immortal Sect would finally become his personal kennel. He then also bestowed his Earth Grade Gold Spiritual Root as well as his Extreme Grade Fire Spiritual Root to Bu Shanghua, upgrading all of her original 2 upper grade spirit roots. Bu Shanghua was very surprised when he sensed the changes in himself. Yi Ba gave her too many surprises. Not only did it allow her sword spirit body to awaken early, but later on, with Yi Ba's assistance, her cultivation was growing by leaps and bounds. Eventually, quantitative changes caused qualitative changes, and she also awakened the hidden supreme sword body. Now, her spiritual root qualification had unexpectedly increased as well. Even a waste immortal seedling can become a top immortal seedling under senior brother's watering. Stephanie murmured inwardly, if she hadn't met Yi Ba, she would still be an outer disciple now. Senior brother. I heard from the Peak Master a few days ago that his senior sister is about to return to the sect, and then I will be able to worship under her. Bu Shanghua opened his mouth, informing him of some of the things that had happened to him. I heard third senior sister say that the senior sister in the Peak Master's mouth and the Peak Master are actually twin sisters. The name is G Drunken Butterfly. Oh, Yi Ba's eyes lit up and he instantly became interested. Twins. A master that can activate bonds by the sound of it. After you pay your respects, gather the details of G Drunken Butterfly. He immediately commanded. Yes, Lord Godfather. Step Shanghua agreed. In absolute subordination. It's absolute obedience. Back mountain. Inside the secret room, Qian Yurong slowly stopped cultivating, and there was an undisguised joy on his face. With the help of the Godfather, the injuries on her body were finally fully recovered. In addition, her 9 Phoenix Luaning body had now awakened 6 Phoenix Luan true spirits. It gave her own strength a tremendous boost. I will definitely be able to get a good ranking in this peaks competition, Qian Yurong muttered, very confident in this. She intended to use this as a way to slowly repay her master's generous favor. Where is Qian Yurong? Quickly come out to meet me. Just then, an incomparably grand voice suddenly came from outside. The voice sounded like it was ringing in the bottom of Qian Yurong's heart. Qian Yurong frowned and got up to open the door of the secret room, flying up into midair to look at the visitor, only to see that in midair, there were a dozen or so cultivators wearing golden robes. Sovereign Peak Law Enforcement Hall. Qian Yurong showed a hint of dismay on his face. What she had done in Jin was still discovered by the sect. It was thought that months had passed, that no one had come looking for her, that she herself was safe. I didn't realize it was coming. Greetings, senior uncle, senior sisters, I am Qian Yurong. Qian Yurong flew in front of the group of cultivators from the law enforcement hall and spoke in a deep voice. One person does things for one person, and if the sect sends down a chastisement, she will bear it. I am Law Enforcement General Hall Deputy Hall Master Bao Bai. You sneaked into Jin without authorization and slaughtered 353 mouths of Jin's royal family, violating our clan's rules. Now according to the clan's rules, I will inflict 10 heavenly thunder floggings on you. Can you plead guilty to the crime? A middle-aged female cultivator in the lead questioned sternly. Disciple, plead guilty. Qian Yurong nodded his head crisply. What's done is done. And since the law enforcement hall was able to approach her and speak in such detail, they had already investigated her clearly. Wait. Suddenly, a voice came from below, immediately followed by several reclining lights rapidly flying up into midair, revealing Ji-Yu and a few Jiedan elders. The look on Ji-Yu's face was very grave. He looked at Bao Bai and pleaded for Qian Yurong. Hall Master Bao, is the punishment of 10 heavenly thunder flogging too heavy? Yurong has just broken through the early stage of Jiedan, and there are still injuries on her body. 10 heavenly thunder floggings will most likely not be able to survive, and she will directly die. It's just a few mortals that died around here. The clan has clan rules. If anyone messes up, wouldn't it be a mess? Bao Bai frowned. If it wasn't for the fact that it's not easy for a genius to come out of your Red Luan Peak, and that the head of the main hall is extraordinarily gracious, it wouldn't be the chastisement of 10 heavenly thunder floggings today, but rather the direct abolition of cultivation and expulsion from the sect. We've already left her with a sliver of a chance. Ji-Yu was slightly silent. Bao Bai was telling the truth. If they really followed the clan rules strictly, arigato would have been abolished. Master teacher doesn't need to plead for me. 10 lashes of heavenly thunder. I'll suffer it myself. Qian Yurong was unwilling to see her own master lowered his voice and pleaded for her. If you still recognize me as your master, don't interrupt. Ji-Yu looked at Qian Yurong with a stern gaze. Qian Yurong was stunned. She had rarely seen her master's father lose his temper with her. It was obvious that the master had been moved to true anger. She instantly dared not continue talking. Hall Master Bao, a disciple's fault is a teacher's fault. I, as a teacher, am willing to take these 10 heavenly thunder lashes for your own. Ji Yu looked at Bao Bai again and said in a deep voice, Peak Master Ji, this is out of order. Bao Bai faintly said, Hall Master Bao, the Peak's competition will be held in 2 months, and Yu Rong is the only true disciple from my peak to break through to Jiedan. Ji Yu's tone was pleading. Master, mustn't, you will die. Red Luan Peak can't live without you. Qian Yu Rong moved, tears welling up under his eyes. She didn't expect that her master would take the initiative to endure the heavenly thunder lash for the sake of saving her. An invalid. When the heavenly thunder whipping was executed in the law enforcement hall, one could not resist it with spells or magic weapons, but could only resist it with one's physical body. And even if her master's cultivation was a bit higher than hers, with a cultivation of the middle stage of Jiedan, she would most likely not be able to carry it off. Master is trying to die for her. Yu Rong, I have the final say in this matter, and it is my fault as a master teacher for making you do the wrong thing you are doing now. You don't need to persuade me anymore, otherwise, I will cut myself in front of you. Ji Yu stared at Qian Yu Rong and spoke solemnly. Bao Bai frowned slightly. She didn't want to offend the Lord of a Peak if she could. Thus after pondering for a split second, she took out her transmission note and asked the hall master. A moment later, she raised an eyebrow and nodded. The hall master agreed to your request. Thank you Hall Master Bao for making Ji Yu whole. Ji Yu thanked. Afterward, she took off the vestments on her body and landed towards the square in front of the Peak Master's hall. Hall Master Bao, you may begin, Ji Yu said in a deep voice. The surrounding Jiedan elders were all showing signs of intolerance and had the intention to plead for Ji Yu, but with their status, they couldn't even interject. Qian Yu Rong on the side even cried into a tearful person. The three of them, Chu Waist, Sun Yun Yang, and Qin Lun, who heard the commotion, also hurried over. When they saw the scene before them, they all frowned, with a worried look on their faces. Good. Bao Bai nodded his head and flipped his wrist, and immediately a thick, lightning-flashing whip appeared in his hand. Matter surged from its body, and thunder light surged above the thunder whip, and the moment it waved its hand, the thunder whip was thrown out. The tip of the whip lashed hard at Ji Yu's back. Snap! A sound that seemed like a thunderous explosion came out. With just this one blow, Ji Yu's shirt behind her back was directly smashed, revealing tumbled blood and flesh with pitch-black scorch marks from being struck by thunder. Chapter 79 Heavenly Thunder Eroding Bones. Realm Falls. Master. Qian Yu Rong roared miserably. A knife seemed to be cutting her heart in her chest. She wanted to step forward to stop it, but after seeing the stern look in her master's eyes and the warning he had just given her, it was as if the breath had been removed from her body, and she dropped to the floor in a daze. Originally, she was still thinking of telling her master during the day about her recovery from her injuries, so that she wouldn't have to continue to labor over her matter. In addition, Master Teacher would certainly be extremely happy to see her recover from her injuries. But now, the sudden arrival of an accident had prevented her from even having the chance to say this out loud. The master's father was not yet aware that she had recovered and was currently an invalid, still willing to take the heavenly thunder lash for her. She didn't know how she was going to repay her master, and I don't know what I'm going to get in return. She felt that she would never be able to repay her master's kindness in her lifetime. Snap! Just then, the first whipping fell. The wounds on Ji Yu's body got deeper. Its teeth were clenched and blood flowed from its lips. Pop! Snap! As a whiplash fell, the wounds on Ji Yu's body increased. Boo! As the sixth flash fell, the aura on Ji Yu's body suddenly erupted. But in just an instant, it quickly fell again. At this moment, the aura on its body changed to be similar to Qian Yu Rong's. Master! Master Teacher's realm has fallen, Qian Yu Rong uttered in a daze. Beside him, Qin Lan's brow furrowed and his heart was hard. Master Teacher was also extremely kind to her. Now that she had seen her master's father being whipped, she was even more empathetic. Chu Waste just started not long ago, but also from time to time by Ji Yu's care, a variety of cultivation on the spirit of the Dan. At any time to answer the doubts on the cultivation of. Ji Yu is really a good master teacher. Sun Yunyang's heart was also a little hard to bear, even though her qualifications were the worst among her fellow disciples. But the master never disliked her, treating her like any other master or sister. If master's injuries can't be cured, we can ask the master then. Sun Yunyang thought so in her heart. Snap! Snap! As the last lash fell, this heavenly thunder flogging came to a complete end. 10 heavenly thunder lashes have been administered. Take care, Peak Master Ji. Bao Bai opened his mouth in a deep voice and immediately took the people from the law enforcement hall with him and flew away from Red Luan Peak. Master! Master! How are you doing? Peak Master! How are your injuries? I have healing pills here. Qian Yu Rong, Qin Lun, and a group of elders surged to Ji Yu's body, asking with anxious concern. I'm fine. You guys disperse. Ji Yu stood up with Qian Yu Rong's assistance and looked at the surrounding crowd and commanded. Seeing that Ji Yu really didn't seem to have any major issues, the Jedan elders looked at each other and continued to say a few words of concern before leaving. A few moments later there were only 4 left. Qian Yurong and Qin Lan, go into the great hall and talk. Ji Yu spoke weakly. Qian Yurong obeyed and did as he was told. Unbeknownst to him, just as he walked into the main hall, a mouthful of blood spewed out from Ji Yu, and the breath on his body became extremely disorganized. Senior, Qian Yurong's few were all worried and helped Ji Yu to sit down carefully. Ji Yu was still conscious at this time. It took out a spirit dan from within the storage bag and swallowed it and then refined it, and her breath finally gradually calmed down. A moment later it reopened its eyes and slowly said, although I was injured this time, there is no major problem, and I only need to convalesce for 3 or 5 months before I can fully recover. You guys don't have to worry too much. Hearing Ji Yu say this, Qian Yurong and the others also let out a long breath of relief. Master, I'm sorry, I've made you heartbroken over again. Qian Yurong still had tear marks on her face and bowed her head. I wouldn't be unaware of the things you do. Ji Yu looked at her beloved disciple and reached out a hand to touch the top of his head. Back when you proposed to go out on a trip, I already sensed what you were going to do. The reason why I didn't stop you was because I was afraid that you wouldn't be able to realize your Taoist heart, thus breeding heart demons. Master, Qian Yurong's heart moved. How could she not have expected that her matter turned out to be known by her master? More than that, she let herself go to take revenge, and when she was found out afterwards, her master even took the initiative to bear the whipping for her. What was she going to get in return for this favor? No more superfluous words. You are all my Ji Yu's disciples. From the day you became my children, I have already been treating you as if you were my relatives. No matter what you have done, I, as a parent, will not leave you behind. Ji Yu gently waved her hand and smiled. Master, I have something to say to you. Qian Yurong gritted his teeth and said with a straight face. Ji Yu smiled and looked at Qian Yurong. Master, the gap in the gene dan inside me is healed. Qian Yurong said in a deep voice. She wanted to let her master know the good news. Healed? How is that possible? Ji Yu was very surprised. She grabbed Qian Yurong's arm and her spiritual energy immediately probed into his body. She also froze after seeing the intact golden dan. Murmured, I can't believe it's true. Obviously, the hall master of the Dan Hall had already said that Arigato's injuries could not be cured. Now how did it suddenly recover? Not only had his injuries recovered, it seemed that his cultivation had also refined quite a bit. How did you recover? Ji Yu's eyes revealed doubt. Master, it's because of my 9 Phoenix Luanine body. I've awakened my 9 Phoenix Luanine body once again during these few months, and now I've awakened 6 Phoenix Luan. Qian Yurong spoke out the explanation he had thought of in advance. Although she didn't want to deceive her master, she had sworn a heavenly oath about the Dragon Ambergris sect and couldn't divulge a single bit of it. The 9 Phoenix Luanine body has awakened once again. Ji Yu uttered in surprise. This kind of early awakening of the physique was very rare. She guessed after a moment of contemplation. It could be that your injuries inspired the potential of the 9 Phoenix Luan leader, allowing it to awaken early and heal your injuries. Qian Yurong's heart rejoiced, thinking that her master had thought of the latter explanation for her, so much so that she didn't have to continue to make much of a fuss about it. Your recovery from your injuries is a great relief to my master, and I can rest assured when I hand over Red Luan Peak to you in the future. Ji Yu smiled and said, also for this peaks competition, we should be able to raise our rankings. Don't worry, master, I will definitely do my best in the peaks competition, Qian Yurong promised. I believe in you all. It's getting late, so you all go back. I have to continue healing. Ji Yu nodded gratefully. The little bitty girl who had followed her around was now able to hold her own. Hearing that Ji Yu wanted to heal her wounds, Qian Yurong's few didn't dare to continue disturbing and obediently withdrew from the main hall. After a few people left, Ji Yu raised her hand to turn on the protective spell formation in the grand hall. In the next second, the aura on its body was once again disorganized. Fresh blood spilled from his mouth and his face turned incomparably pale. Her injuries were so severe that the heavenly lightning had etched her bones and had penetrated deep into her bones and marrow, harming her flesh at all times. This wasn't the most serious. As long as she was given time, she slowly forced the heavenly thunder out of her body and her injuries could be recovered. The trickiest thing was that her dantian was pierced by the heavenly lightning. Although the Jin Dan was fine, a large hole appeared in the dantian. The dantian was the foundation of the Tao, the beginning of cultivation, and damage to the dantian could not be recovered at all. Her own spiritual energy would continue to escape until not a single bit of spiritual energy remained in her dantian. At that time, she would become mortal and her lifespan would be less than 100. I should be able to hold on for another half a year or so. It's good that Yurong has recovered from his injuries, and Red Luan Peak can be considered a successor. Ji Yu wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and a hint of a smile appeared on her face. In the beginning, her master handed over Red Luan Peak to her and asked her to take care of the disciples on Red Luan Peak. She did. In the future, when she met her master in the Yellow Springs, she would be able to hold her chest out and face him directly. Chapter 80, Winesword Immortal. G. Drunken Butterfly. Pity. Inside the cave, Yiba received Shu Waste's voice transmission and learned of the changes that had just occurred in the outside world, and shook his head in slight regret. The good news was that Gu was injured, and the bad news was that the injury wasn't serious enough to heal itself. Otherwise this would be an opportunity for him. If he could take Gu and let him cultivate with his disciples, he might be able to activate the special bond again. Now he was not far from breaking through to the late stage of foundation establishment. After reaching the late stage of foundation establishment, the fastest way to cultivate was to activate special bonds to infuse cultivation. One can directly reach the peak of the late stage of foundation establishment. What a pity! Yiba shook his head once again and lamented. Then he looked at Tung Shahan beside his knees and opened his mouth to command. Now that your formation art has reached the middle grade of the 3rd rank, the spell formation within the cave needs to be upgraded once again. Yummy Godfather. Deng Xiaohan responded. What? Yiba was slightly stunned. What was Deng Xiaohan up to? He was talking about business. Alright, sect leader, but the spirit materials required to refine a 3rd order mid-grade spell formation are very precious, and the spirit stones I have on hand are somewhat insufficient. Tang Xiaohan gulped and reopened his mouth. No more gulps from his mouth. Not enough spirit stones? Yiba smiled, then directly took out a storage bag and threw it to Tung Xiaohan. Feel free to use the spirit stones in here as you please. He had Chu Waste sell some of the foundation establishment pills in exchange for a large amount of resources. In addition, there was also the yang field planted by Qinlan, which was now starting to produce red yang grass, and the spirit stones earned from the red yang dam refined out of it had all entered his pockets as well. Right now, he had so many spirit stones on him that he couldn't even spend them all by himself. Deng Xiaohan curiously opened it to check, and after seeing the number of spirit stones inside, he exclaimed out in shock. So many! She hadn't even seen these spirit stones before, and all of them are medium-grade spirit stones. A full 10,000 pieces. This was the equivalent of 1 million lower-grade spirit stones. Talk to me again if it's not enough. Yiba continued. They're still on the bishop? Deng Xiaohan's mouth was slightly open, a bit numb. After reacting, he said, Sect leader, these spirit stones should be enough. Well, in addition to upgrading all the spell formations within the cave, everyone's exclusive room should also be furnished with protective spell formations, with the main function focusing on isolating perception. Yiba stated his requirements. Currently it was only his room that had the protective spells. Setting up protective spell formations in other people's exclusive rooms is just the beginning, and later he will have to remodel the rooms and establish cultivation rooms inside, with holes left outside the cultivation rooms. Yiba interrupted his mental conception in time. Now is not the time to think about that. After all, the protective spell formation hadn't been refined yet. No problem, sect leader. I'll need about a month to refine the array plate and the array flag. Tun Shahan nodded in response. Well, that's the main thing you'll do next. Finish refining the spell formation as soon as possible. Yiba exhorted. Sect master, then my cultivation. Tang Shahan's big spiritual eyes turned, hesitantly opened his mouth. The following 5 days of my time belongs to you. Yiba spoke in a deep voice. Deng Xiaohan's face was delighted. It's good to have compensation for yourself. She didn't want to delay her own cultivation because of the refining spell formation thing. 5 days later, Deng Xiaohan leaves. Yiba, on the other hand, looked at the prompt that popped up in front of him. Formation experience plus 3,500. 3rd order lower grade alchemist, 4,700/8,000. Absolute subordination established. Seeing the prompt, Yiba raised his eyebrows. Up to this point, Chu Waste, Bu Shenghua, Qi Hongyu, and Deng Xiaohan, the 4 female devils he had contacted at the very beginning, had all become loyal dogs under him. Below are the 2 Qilan and Qinlan. Yiba mused in his heart. Both have now established primary subordination. According to his prediction, it shouldn't be too far from establishing a high-level slave. In the past, it was his lack of cultivation and the gap between him and the two that caused the relationship to be slow to build. But now it was different. He had broken through to the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment. The realm gap between and the duo wasn't that big anymore. Establishing subordination is naturally faster. There is also a need to identify a few more female devils with natural talent. The peaks competition is a good opportunity, but in my current condition it's not suitable to go to the scene to watch. After all, for an event like the peaks competition, the great powers within the sect are bound to be there. Yiba mused, thinking about some of the pressing matters to follow. However, I can have Deng Xiaohan refine a magic weapon that can be observed from across the sky, so that she can carry it on her body, and I can just as well see what's going on outside. I just don't know if observing from across the sky will allow me to view the information of the female devil. There are still 2 months until the peaks competition. This matter is not urgent. Wait until Tang Xiahan finishes the matter of the protective spell formation. Inside the Peak Master's Great Hall. My good sister, how is it that after several years of not seeing you, you have become the dying form you are today? Drunken Butterfly looked towards Yu, who was sitting cross-legged on the recliner above, and opened her mouth with a teasing smile. It was dressed in a red gauze, tall, with a full chest, and a sword-shaped jade pendant sunk deep within the gully, bearing all alone. On its head was messy short red hair. Its face was full of lethargy, tilting its head and pouring a delicate red wine gourd on its hand towards its rosy lips, the spirit wine within it turning into a thin line that flowed into its mouth. A hint of helplessness appeared in Yu's eyes. Her twin sister was good at everything but her mouth. I've been seriously injured this time and basically have no way to recover, so don't leave after you come back this time. Yu sighed. Unable to recover? Drunken Butterfly frowned, and in the next second its feet flicked and instantly disappeared in place. When he reappeared, he had already arrived in front of Yu. Without waiting for Yu to react, a white palm pressed on her shoulder. Are you a loser? How come you can't even take care of yourself? Drunken Butterfly withdrew her hand and glared angrily at Yu. Immediately afterward, he asked, you were fine inside the sect. Who hurt you? You wrong. She killed the royal family of the Gene Kingdom and violated the clan rules, so I endured 10 heavenly thunder lashes on her behalf. Yu explained simply. That disciple of yours is also trash, doing something that violates the rules of the clan, and he was even caught. Drunken Butterfly was furious. This family would have to fall apart without her. She'd only been gone for 6 years and so much had changed. You wrong. She can't help it, so don't blame her. When the Peaks competition is over, I will give her the position of Peak Master, and you will still need to look after her at that time. Yu sighed. My senior nephew, I will naturally take care of him. Drunken Butterfly nodded non-committally. Immediately afterward, he frowned. Is there really no way out of your injuries? My dantian has been pierced. What else can I do? Yu shook her head. I've found a disciple with superior qualifications for you, who is also a sword cultivator, so you can stay on the peak when you return this time. Chapter 81, Collective Cultivation Room. I don't need you to teach me how to do things. You'd better mind your own business first. Drunken Butterfly frowned. She then took out a bottle of spirit elixir from within her storage pouch and tossed it to Yu, explaining, there are 2 life enhancement elixirs in here, which should allow you to live for 20 more years. The mess you left behind yourself. It's better to find a way to clean it up while you're still alive. Sooner or later I'm going to have to leave the clan again. Yu held the jade bottle in her hand, and when she looked up again, Drunken Butterfly had already disappeared inside the main hall. She smiled and shook her head, obviously helping her, but still speaking evil words. This sister of his own, her character hasn't changed at all. What a waste. Obviously in the sect, how can you not even take care of yourself? After leaving the main hall, Drunken Butterfly couldn't help but curse in a low voice. Yu's injuries were impossible to recover from unless an immortal made a move. The only thing she could do was to keep her sister alive for a few more years. Tilting her head back and drinking a large mouthful of spirit wine, Drunken Butterfly's emotions only calmed down some more. She tapped her foot and disappeared in an instant. 1 month later, inside the cave, Yiba looked at the rearranged protective spell formation in front of him and nodded with satisfaction. Just a moment ago, Tang Xiahan had already upgraded the entire cave's protective spell formation. It utilized 5 sets of 3rd-order mid-grade spell formations to lay down a combined grand formation that could withstand the attacks and probes of a late-stage Jiedan. The killing formation outside the cave's teleportation array had also been upgraded, and according to Tang Xiahan, even mid-Jordan cultivators could deal with it. The sense of security given to Yi Ba was sufficient. Finally, he looked to the rearranged room inside the cave. There were 10 rooms in total, and in addition to the rooms for him and Chu Waste and the others, there were 2 extra rooms. These 2 rooms he intended to modify into dedicated group practice rooms. Subsequently, some of the ideas in his mind that were beneficial to cultivation were intended to be tested in these 2 rooms. He walked into one of the rooms to check it out. It was a rectangular space, around 30*15 in length and width. You can build a partition wall every 3 meters to separate this place into 10 single rooms. Yi Ba muttered in his heart. Since it was a group training room, it was natural for it to be able to accommodate all the female demons. Against the outer wall, leave the door open to each single room, so that they can each enter their own practice room. He was inspired by public restrooms. The difference was that he kept his own auxiliary cultivation space behind the toilet. When the time comes, you just need to leave a big enough hole in the back of the toilet. In this way, as long as the demoness entered his single room, he could perform assisted cultivation. He didn't even need to know who it was, but I should be able to make a rough guess. After all, everyone's physique is different. Yi Ba mused. After completing his own initial thoughts, he came to the open space outside the cultivation room. He then took out a refining furnace from within his storage bag, He had asked Deng Xiaohan to help him purchase this, and the quality had reached the top grade of the second rank, costing him 1,000 middle-grade spirit stones. In addition to that, Tang Xiaohan had also purchased some weapon refining spirit materials and spirit gold for him. He was currently a third-ranked lower-grade formation master, so he planned to take matters into his own hands when it came to remodeling the collective cultivation room. He urged the spirit fire to ignite and heat up the refining furnace. After its temperature was raised to the right temperature, he took out a large chunk of spiritual metal and threw it in. A few moments later the spiritual metal melted, and under Yi Ba's divine sense control, it eventually finalized into an extremely thin metal wall, roughly the size of a door panel. Yi Ba measured some heights and then punched holes at a height equal to his waist. This is the arrangement necessary to channel the yang energy needed for cultivation. Looking at his masterpiece, Yi Ba nodded with satisfaction. He then produced 9 more door panels as he had done. After doing so, he refined some sturdy metal partitions. Taking these things into the cultivation room, he set them up one by one as he had just thought. Get out 10 single rooms. Finally, he carved formation patterns on these walls that could shield perception. In this way, there was no way for those inside the single room to detect anything outside. Finally, he took apart the exterior walls and put in doors that could be moved around the room. He did not, however, inscribe each person's name on the door of the room. Nothing more. He likes the mystery of opening a blind box, always cultivating day after day. He was also a bit numb and bored. It's also excellent to spice up your practice a little more and create some fun for yourself. After constructing the collective cultivation room, he also couldn't wait to try out the effects. Thus, after pondering for a split second, he sent messages to Deng Xiaohan, Qi Hongyue, and Qi Lan. Let the 3 come over and practice. While waiting, in order to make it easier for the demonesses to understand how to use the collective practice room, he thoughtfully hung a practice instruction chart on the door of the group practice room. Includes, but is not limited to, diagrams of body movements, as well as some textual notes and keynotes. After doing so, he walked into the collective cultivation room and waited patiently up in the back. After 10 seconds or so, the light on the teleportation array lit up. Wearing a flame mask, Xylan's figure emerged above it, and it's still wearing that white muslin. She surveyed the cave in surprise. I hadn't been here for a few days, but the place had completely changed. Where is the sect leader? Somewhat puzzled, Qilan walked out of the teleportation array and headed towards the cultivation room in front of him. After surveying the room for a moment, she finally noticed the cultivation instruction map hanging on the door of the cultivation room. According to what it says, every time you come over to cultivate in the future, you only need to wait inside here. Qilan read it and pondered in his heart. As for the few physical action pictures above, she simply ignored them. To her, that's just small potatoes. She opened a door at random, walked in and got ready as requested, and began to wait patiently. Someone is coming so soon? After 2 days of no cultivation, these female devils are in a hurry. Yi Ba sensed the movement and raised his eyebrows. Afterwards, he also began to help it cultivate, and as time passed, other people entered the other cultivation rooms one after another. Yi Ba went back and forth between the 3 cultivation chambers, assisting several of Qi Lan's cultivation. It had to be said that this type of cultivation was really efficient. Even though it was 3 female demons, the combined cultivation time was only 1.5 times the time required for a single female demon. In this way, not only would he have more space time to use for cultivation, it also boosts the speed of building slaves as well as the acquisition of various experiences. After the trio left, Yi Ba found 3 differently shaped teacups in the 3 single rooms just now. This is what each of the 3 of them, Xylan, brought, but who exactly each teacup belonged to, Yi Ba didn't know. One can only guess. The cup in the first room is wide and deep, and the rest of the tea is fair, so it should be Qilan's. The second cup is overflowing with water. Odds are it's Qi Hongyue. The last cup is narrow and shallow, and there's not much tea left, so it has to be Deng Xiaohan. He then put away the 3 teacups, intending to return them to the 3 women later. This was a communal group practice room after all, and it wouldn't be good to lose things. Chapter 82 Heavenly Rewards. Qilan's Breakthrough. A prompt popped up in front of Yi Ba. Formation experience plus 600. Third order lower grade formation master, 5300/8000. Advanced affiliation established. Qilan's hidden talent/physique and appraisal. Identification complete. Talent, heavenly rewards. Is it bestowed? Heavenly rewards. Emperor's grade. No more bottlenecks when breaking through the realm. As long as you cultivate until the realm is complete, you can break through smoothly. Yi Ba's heart was joyful after reading the hint. After working so hard for so long, he had finally established a high level of subordination between him and Xylan. Now only Qi Lan was left without establishing a senior subordinate. And, of course, there's Sun Yunyang. But he didn't think of Sun Yunyang as a human being for the time being. It had its own soul mark on it and was already its loyal dog. there was no need to waste too much energy on it. Just sweeten the deal once in a while. It was only natural that his energy should remain with those female devils who could give him the benefit of the doubt. Only in the end will Sun Yun Yang be considered. The talent of Heaven's Way is very good, Yi Ba murmured in his heart. Breaking through no longer had the constraint of a bottleneck, which meant that Qilan's speed of realm advancement would be extremely fast. After all, for many cultivators, if there was not a suitable breakthrough opportunity, they would most likely stay in a certain realm for several years or even decades, with no progress in their cultivation. This situation became more obvious the higher the cultivator's realm. Without hesitation, he too chose to bestow directly. Immediately afterward, he took out a transmitting note and sent messages to the 5 senior sisters, Chu Waist, Xin Lan, Xian Yu Rong, Sun Yun Yang, and Bu Shanghua. Let them come over and practice together. The collective cultivation room was effective, and he planned to let the 5 try it as well. Besides, this practice of opening blindfolded boxes of blindness is still quite interesting. However, before a few people came over, he had remodeled a few more cultivation rooms and arranged the location where he was with a special perception-enhancing spell formation. This way, even if he didn't take the ascension pill, his cultivation efficiency wouldn't slow down. Also, I can learn a few secret techniques that aid in cultivation to increase the efficiency of cultivation. Yi Ba mused. The female devils of the Great Ultimate Bliss Immortal Sect had developed various ways of ingesting yang qi to the extreme. After all, this was what they relied on to cultivate, so they were naturally extremely professional. Whether it was a variety of pills or secret methods that aided in cultivation, they were all available. He used to only occasionally take pills that aided in cultivation, such as the Ascension pill, but now he also wanted to learn a few secret techniques to continuously improve his cultivation efficiency. A couple hundred times a day is still too slow. Yi Ba waited patiently within the cultivation room after setting up the spell formation. Soon there were female demons arriving one after another. Yi Ba was also busy once again. Outside, the back hall of the formation hall, Qilan, who was cultivating within the room and absorbing the remaining benefits within his body, suddenly had a startled expression on his face. Just a moment ago, it seemed as if a yoke had been opened within her mind. Her whole mind became very clear all of a sudden, as if she had suddenly been enlightened. She sank her mind and looked within herself to feel the changes in herself, finding himself more in tune with the heavenly Tao. The bottleneck of the Jidan bottleneck that was discovered some time ago was now magically gone. The original bottleneck was already on the verge of breaking with Yi Ba's help. It looked like with some more time, she would be able to break through the Jidan. But today, the bottleneck is indeed gone. It was a good thing though. It meant she no longer needed to break through the bottleneck. As long as one cultivates smoothly, one can break through to Jidan. With a movement of her mind, the spiritual energy within her body immediately surged up, rapidly converging towards the Dantian. She had stayed at the late stage of foundation establishment for many years, so naturally, she had already cultivated to foundation establishment perfection. It's just that there's always been a bottleneck present, and that's why he's never been able to break through. The sudden bottleneck magically disappeared, and she was beginning to break through. A large amount of spirit liquid surged into her dantian and very smoothly began to coalesce on its own. Coagulation of Jindan is actually a process in which the spiritual fluid changes from liquid to solid. The extreme compression of the spiritual liquid into a solid state would eventually lead to the formation of the Golden Dan. As time passed, the spiritual liquid within Qilan's dantian continued to contract. Half a day later, the spirit liquid in her dantian completely disappeared, and in its place was a golden Dan the size of a dragon's eye. Finally, have formed a Dan. Qilan slowly exhaled, his heart incomparably excited. She had thought that she would never be able to break through to Jiadan in her life, and could only die of old age in the late stage of foundation establishment. Unexpectedly, the sect leader gave her a chance to be reborn, allowing her to have a second spring of life and successfully break through to the Jiadan stage. It's possible that my bottleneck suddenly disappeared, and it's possible that I've also awakened some sort of special talent. Qilan mused in his heart. Her daughter had once awakened the Thousand Tides Enchanting Bones talent with the help of the sect leader. Today, she should be in the same situation. It would be good to look through the clan's canonical books sometime to check what kind of talent it is exactly. Thinking so, Qilan stood up in the next second and walked out of the house. Since she joined the Dragon Ambergris cult, she had stopped using spirit slaves. The few spirit slaves under her have been disposed of by her. In her opinion, it was enough that she had the help of the sect leader and no longer needed any other spirit slaves. Those wastes were of no use at all, and hadn't allowed her cultivation to improve in all those years. In the end, it was the sect leader who helped her to top off her conjugation. One of the two was spiritual milk that was beneficial to cultivation and the other was dirty water. There was no way to compare them. She felt that to bring the two together and compare them would be disrespectful to the patriarch. Snap! Xiron slapped himself, banishing the thought from his mind. Now that she had broken through to Jiadan, Her mind was also alive. None of the elders of the formation hall had broken through to Jiedan for many years, so the position of the hall master of the formation hall was always left vacant. The following things are managed by the 6 elders together. Of course, it's more a case of each of the 6 managing his or her own end of the business and not interfering with each other. But now that she had broken through to Jiedan, that situation was going to change. She, Lan, was determined to be the hall master of the formation hall. Thinking of this, she got up and walked out of the room, tapping her feet to fly up into midair towards the peak. She wanted the peak master to grant her the status of formation hall master. That way, whatever she does will be in name only. Receiving the 5 elders of the formation hall under his hand to manage them later on would also be much smoother. Soon, she arrived in front of the peak master's hall, but she was stopped by a woman in red at the door. "Senior Uncle Drunken Butterfly?" Lan spoke with some uncertainty after seeing the person's face clearly. "Humph, after so many years, you've still made some progress. Broke through to Jiedan." Drunken Butterfly snorted contemptuously after glancing at Lan. Lan pays his respects to Senior Uncle. Lan's past memories returned to his mind after hearing Drunken Butterfly's voice. Drunken Butterfly, the eldest daughter of the previous peak master, superbly talented, broke through the Jiedan at only 20 years of age, and the last time she left the clan, she was said to be a late-stage Jiedan cultivator. The only somewhat bad thing about it is that it is arrogant and despises anyone around it. From time to time, they would open their mouths to strike the people around them for a few sentences, and it was not uncommon for them to strike out and beat them up, which made a lot of disciples or elders afraid of Drunken Butterfly. Xylan is no exception. "Well, what is your business here?" Drunken Butterfly nodded gently and spoke faintly. Chapter 83, Always Leaving Things Behind. "Senior Uncle, I have something I want to discuss with the peak master." Lan lowered his head and spoke. "My sister has been in closed-door cultivation lately. The matters within the peak have been temporarily left to me. So say what's going on." Drunken Butterfly said indifferently. Her sister's health is deteriorating. More time is needed to slow down the regression of cultivation. At this point, there was no more extra time to deal with the affairs within the peak. It had to be her substitute for the time being. Lan was slightly stunned at the bottom of his heart, thinking how the peak master could have closed down when the peak's competition was about to begin. But she didn't suspect too much. After all, for cultivators, it was not uncommon for them to suddenly shut down from time to time when they suddenly had a flash of light one day and found an opportunity for a breakthrough. "Senior Uncle, within our formation hall, we have been managed by 6 foundation establishment elders at the same time, which still has some impact on the overall development of the formation hall. And at the beginning, the peak master said that whoever of the 6 of us could break through to Jiedan would be the formation hall's hall master." Lan spoke in a deep voice. Drunken Butterfly nodded her head gently. "The position of hall master is naturally taken by someone with strong strength. I agree with your matter. From now on, you will be the hall master of the formation hall. You can go back." She thought it was reasonable. "Thank you, Senior Uncle." Lan's face was delighted. He then excused himself and returned towards the formation hall. She was going to start working on integrating the formation hall. This means that she can take advantage of the opportunity to make a lot of money out of it. After watching Lan leave, Drunken Butterfly's figure disappeared from its original spot in a flash. When he reappeared, he had already arrived in a circular cultivation field at the back of the peak master's hall. In the center of the cultivation field, Bu Shanghua, who was wearing a golden practice uniform, was rehearsing her sword technique. "Go!" With one hand, he pinched his sword finger and pointed it forward. Above the sword, the golden light was internalized, and it swiftly and incomparably stabbed forward. Wherever it passed, thin pitch-black cracks emerged in the void. A spatial crack. A hint of appreciation appeared under Drunken Butterfly's eyes. This new disciple of hers was super talented and worked hard enough. Also, its personality is very similar to her own, which is very much to her liking. "Greetings, Master." Bu Shanghua heard the commotion and turned around to salute. "Well, you have a good talent and have already comprehended a trace of the sword Dao origin. With your current cultivation at the early stage of foundation establishment, even a normal late-stage foundation establishment wouldn't be your match." Drunken Butterfly nodded slowly and pointed out. She then took out a yellow book and threw it to Bu Shanghua. "This contains some of my comprehension of the sword path as well as a few powerful sword techniques. Take it and cultivate it, and come back and ask me again if there's anything you don't understand." "Yes, Master." Bu Shanghua took the yellow book and put it into his storage bag, not checking it at first. The peak's competition is just around the corner. Even though you are only at the early stage of foundation establishment cultivation, but with your status as a sword cultivator, you may not be able to achieve a good ranking in it. Drunken Butterfly nodded her head gently and encouraged. "Disciple understands," Bu Shanghua replied, but in his heart, he was in a hurry. Just now, she received a message from the sect leader. asking her to go over and cultivate. However, she was just now practicing her sword skill under the guidance of her master, so she simply couldn't get away. One could only pretend to continue cultivating the sword skill for the time being. The current her could only hope that Drunken Butterfly could leave quickly, so that she could immediately go to the bishop to practice. Nowadays, she was already at the peak of early foundation establishment cultivation, and after cultivating for a while, she was certain that she would break through to mid-foundation establishment. However, Drunken Butterfly didn't seem to have the intention of leaving at all. It's just stood aside, seemingly intending to continue to watch Bu Shanghua cultivate his sword skill. Bu Shanghua was in a hurry, but it was not good enough to just leave. That might make Drunken Butterfly suspicious, only to continue cultivating the sword skill. In the back of his mind, he was thinking of a suitable excuse to leave. Ikana, why are you a little distracted? Just then, Drunken Butterfly on the side saw the abnormality of Bu Shanghua and opened her mouth to inquire. Some time ago, Senior Uncle G endured 10 heavenly thunder lashes for Senior Sister and was injured. I don't know if he's healed now. Bu Shanghua's reaction was also quick, promptly finding a reason for herself. The Uncle G in her mouth was naturally referring to Jiyu. Hearing Jiyu, Drunken Butterfly was also slightly silent, contemplating. He said, your senior uncle's injuries aren't light, but he's still fine for the time being, so you don't have to worry too much. Speaking of this, Drunken Butterfly also lost the idea of continuing to instruct Bu Shanghua in his cultivation. You continue to cultivate. I'll go check on your senior uncle. After dropping a sentence, he turned around and left the cultivation square. Bu Shanghua's heart was delighted, so that she could leave. After seeing Drunken Butterfly walk into the Peak Master's Hall, she also forced herself to leave and return to her own residence a few moments later, opening the room's protective array and then arranging the teleportation array. The entire set of actions was very skillful. After getting everything done, she stepped onto the teleportation pad. After a flash of white light, she reappeared in the cave. She surveyed the cave in surprise, discover how much things have changed here. Bu Shanghua walked forward and quickly discovered the cultivation instruction map hanging prominently outside the collective cultivation room. After figuring out how to use it, she looked up at a few of the cultivation chambers and realized that the spell formations above 4 of them had been turned on, obviously with people inside. I sure am late. Bu Shanghua secretly let out a cry of loss. It was followed by an impatient entry into the nearest cultivation single room as well. Yiba realized that after setting up the spell formation to amplify perception, the efficiency of cultivation had indeed increased a lot. In terms of effect, it was not inferior to the Ascension Pill at all. It's just that to open the spell formation, you need to activate it with a spirit stone, but this was only a small problem. Right now he had enough spirit stones on him. To put it bluntly, it's not that bad, and assisting 5 people at a time to cultivate at the same time was also very easy for him. There's no worry at all about having a busy schedule. It's like pumping water to irrigate farmland. The field was that big and absorbed a limited amount of water per day. He just needed to water it all at once. All that's left is for the fields to slowly absorb the water on their own. At best, some fields absorb faster and he waters them twice more. A day later, several female demons left the cultivation room one after another. Sun Yunyang, on the other hand, was thoughtful enough to stay behind and take the initiative to help clean up the cultivation room. Yunyang is really trying hard enough. For crying out loud, Yiba couldn't help but spit out. A few moments later, Sun Yunyang also finished cleaning the cultivation room, and it came to the house where Yiba was resting. From within the storage bag, he pulled out 4 teacups of different shapes. Master, these seem to have been left here by others. Sun Yunyang spoke up. Yiba was puzzled. Why do you all like tea? Sun Yunyang hesitated slightly and spoke hesitantly. Master, the cultivation room is a bit stuffy and hot, so I need spirit tea to relieve the heat. Yiba was stunned, and immediately realized that he seemed to have forgotten to set up the cooling spell formation. These female devils are also really, do not know to take the initiative to remind them without asking themselves. He then surveyed the 4 teacups before it, mentally pondering. Pink cup rim, no pattern. This is Young's. The cup is thin on the mouth but wide on the inside. This should be Chinlan's. Chu Waste's teacups come with a dense black pattern. This should be it. How come there's still half a cup of tea left? What a waste. The walls of this last cup are resilient. It's Senior Sister Boo without a doubt. Yiba had once seen the teacups used by a few women, so he recognized them all just by looking at them. Chapter 84. 9 Phoenix Luanin Body Experience plus 800. 9 Phoenix Luanin Body, 32,000/100000. Quality Imperial. Advanced affiliation established. Shinlan's hidden talent/physique is being identified. Identification complete. Talent, Grass and Tree Gourmand. Is it bestowed? Herb and Tree Tautai, Sacred perceive all kinds of spiritual materials more keenly. can accurately judge their medicinal properties, and swallow all kinds of spiritual materials and elixirs by themselves, can completely absorb the medicinal power, and will not be affected by medicinal or elixir poison. Grass and trees taunt? There's something about this talent. Yi Ba's expression twitched. In their daily cultivation, cultivators could not do without the aid of various elixirs. For example, when a cultivator was building his foundation, he had to take the foundation establishment pill. Which cultivator who can cultivate to a high realm is not a medicine king, but as long as it is a spirit Dan, there is Dan poison. Under normal circumstances, as long as it is not eaten too much, Dan poison can be naturally discharged from the body. This talent of Qinlan's, however, allowed her to keep eating spirit pills without having to worry about the hidden problem of Dan poison at all. Moreover, she can absorb the medicinal properties perfectly. There won't be a single bit of it wasted. This is even more awesome. After all, except for some special physique, it is very difficult to completely absorb the medicinal power within the elixir. More or less will be wasted. The medicinal power gained by others by taking 3 pills was enough for Qinlan to take just 2. It can save a large amount of spirit stone expenses. Then isn't Qinlan's efficiency in absorbing benefits higher? Yi Ba secretly marveled. It's also less than that. The introduction of the talent just says swallowing, which may just mean taking it orally. I don't know if it includes other ways of absorbing it, but no matter what, Qinlan had gotten a talent for nothing. Even if he could only absorb the benefits orally, it was still a blood profit. Did Master think of something happy? Sun Yunyang, who was rubbing Yi Ba's shoulders at the side, softly inquired. Do your thing and don't ask so many questions. Yi Ba spoke faintly. He wanted Sun Yunyang to recognize her position. I'm sorry, Master. Sun Yunyang bowed her head apologetically, cursing herself for having nothing to say more. It would be bad if she upset her master and drove her away. Yi Ba closed his eyes and paid no more attention. The heart murmurs, bestow. Red Luan peaked back mountain. He was bending down to hoe the grass in the medicine field. This medicinal field was a young field that she had recently watered. Planted inside were the seedlings of red sun grass that she had transplanted. But the yang energy in the medicine field was too heavy, causing some weeds to grow extremely fast as well. She needs to be cleaned up more often than not to get it right. But just then, she suddenly looked startled. A hot current actually suddenly appeared within her body, rapidly running through her meridians. Her meridians were nourished and became tougher. At the same time, she realized that her flesh, blood, bones and organs were also rapidly getting stronger with the help of the heat flow, especially the upper and lower abdominal positions. What is this situation? Qinlan was somewhat overwhelmed by this sudden change in himself, had no idea what was going on, but the changes in her body are all for the better. Therefore she was also gradually calming down after a brief moment of panic. The change lasted for well over an hour before it finally disappeared. Suddenly, Qinlan's gaze froze, when she had just swept over a red sun grass next to her. Information related to the medicinal age as well as the medicinal properties of this red sungrass actually appeared in her mind. 51 years and 3 months and 10 days of medicinal age, and after being nourished by a large amount of yang qi, its medicinal properties far exceed those of the unusual red yang grass. In the past, she could roughly tell that this red sungrass was around 50 years old based on her knowledge of spirit herbs. But now, the age of the medicine is actually accurate to the day. It is even possible to determine the exact strength of its medicinal properties. Could it be the effect of that heat flow just now? Qinlan muttered in his heart. Think there must be some connection between the two. After thinking in place for a moment, her eyes suddenly lit up. As the head of the Dan Hall of Hongluan Peak, she often dealt with all kinds of spiritual herbs and elixirs, and the canonical books she came into contact with were mostly related to pill refining. Just now she recalled a special talent that was very similar to what she just had. The truth was that this talent was quite unbelievable, so she remembered it quite well. According to her memories, that talent was called Grass and Wood Tao Tai, a talent that the alchemists could only dream of. As long as one possessed this talent, they would be proficient in all kinds of spiritual herb knowledge and medicinal properties. In addition, it can also absorb 100% of the medicinal properties of the spirit elixir and there will be no residual elixir poison in the body. Just try it and see, he muttered in his heart. In the next second, she pulled out an elixir bottle from her bosom and took out an elixir from it and spat it down, sitting cross-legged on the ground running his gongfu to absorb the medicinal power. After half an hour had passed, she opened her eyes in incomparable surprise. At this point, she was already basically certain that she was the one who had awakened the gift of grass Tao Tai. In the past, when she ate the red yang dan, she would at most absorb 60 or 70% of the medicinal power. But just now, she had actually absorbed all of the medicinal power within the red yang dan without wasting a single bit of it. In this case, it could only be the awakening of the grass and trees Tao Tai talent. To make sure this didn't happen by accident, she once again took out a jade bottle from her bosom. Only this one was much larger. as tall as her head. Opening the jade bottle, it was full of white spirit liquid. Without hesitation, Qinlan tilted his head and directly drank a large mouthful. Gulp! Between the rolls of his throat, the viscous spiritual liquid entered his mouth. After the spiritual liquid was imported, she sank her heart and began to cultivate and absorb it, and making comparisons with the past. As the spiritual liquid was absorbed, Qinlan soon discovered an abnormality. Not only was she absorbing the benefits faster than before, but she was also converting them into yang qi more efficiently. Previously, due to the spiritual liquids containing too much yang qi, she would have wasted much of it in the process of absorption. But now, she absorbed it completely. In other words, she could really absorb 100% of the medicinal properties within the spirit. I wonder if absorbing from elsewhere would have this effect as well. Qinlan's cheeks flushed as he thought so. She looked towards her left and right, although there were as if spell formations covering the outside of the yang field here, isolating the inside and outside. But she was still a little careful. Don't want to get caught trying it myself. She raised her hand and waved it lightly, once again drawing out a stream of spirit liquid from within the jade bottle. The spirit liquefied into an arc and disappeared into the hem of the skirt. A moment later, Qinlan opened his eyes in shock. I can't believe it's really possible. She was just taking a chance, not realizing that it would actually work in the end. That way, she'd be able to teach the bishop to get more out of her. Cultivation is also bound to increase faster. Her whole body was excited at the thought. But after a few moments, a question rose in her mind. Grasstree Taotai is a holy gift. How did I suddenly awaken it? After all, it was very difficult to awaken a talent or physique later in life. Without a special opportunity, it is simply impossible to do so. Wait, isn't the sect leader my greatest immortal destiny? Qinlan's eyes lit up and he vaguely understood. Chapter 85 Red Fire Foxtail Pen. After confirming that the talent he had awakened was Grass and Wood Taotai, Qinlan threw down the work on his hands and quickly walked back to the thatched hut. She tapped her storage bag and took out all kinds of pills inside that were helpful for cultivation. There were at least hundreds of them in bits and pieces. These were all the savings she had accumulated over the years as the head of the Dan Hall. In the past, there was no way to take too many elixirs. There would be Dan poison affecting oneself. But it's different now. She can eat all she wants. Without hesitation, she casually picked up 3 spirit pills and directly threw them into her mouth to start absorbing the medicinal power within the pills. Boom! The huge medicinal power surged within her meridians and was quickly absorbed by her dantian as she ran her gongfu to carry the circumference. Her cultivation grew at an extremely fast rate. Qinlan had a smile on her face. With the Grasstree Taotai as a holy talent, she was certain that she would be able to cultivate to the peak of the late stage of foundation establishment in a very short period of time. The only obstacle that could stop her cultivation speed would be the Jiedan bottleneck. Also, I need more spirit pills, Qinlan pondered in his heart. Luckily, she had recently refined many red Yangdan, and after selling them, she should be able to exchange them for some other high-grade spirit pills that would be helpful to her. Let's eat up the spirit pills in front of us first. If not, there's still the sect leader's place, where you can eat for free, Qinlan muttered in his heart. Inside the spirit slave hall, Qi Hongyue held a fiery red talisman pen in her hand, a hint of a smile on her face. This was the talisman pen that she had spent a large amount of spirit stones to buy from the refining hall. The name is Red Fire Foxtail Pen. The pen's barrel is bright red like blood, and the nib is made from the softest hair at the bottom of the red firefox's neck. Just to make such a talisman pen, a full 5 red firefoxes needed to be killed. It is a good aid for drawing talismans with the attribute of Supreme Young. Try the effect, Qi Hongyue mused. She came to the talisman making table on the side of the house, and then took out the things needed for talisman making from within her storage bag. Rune paper, bully ink, paperweight. It was worth mentioning here that the spirit inks Qi Hongyue used nowadays were all mixed with yang qi, so she was more accustomed to calling the spirit inks as bully inks. She felt a little more intimate that way. Qi Hongyue held the red fire foxtail pen and reached inside the overwhelming ink to dip it. She then took a deep breath and began to draw the sigil on the rune paper. The talisman she wanted to draw was called the Five Thunders Talisman, and it was a third-order upper-grade talisman. She had already drawn this kind of talisman many times, so she was very skillful in drawing it. The pen is in the air. It's done. Qi Hongyue put down her pen and stared moodily at the talisman paper on the table. But right at this moment, the runes on the talisman paper suddenly became unstable, and the lines on it began to distort. In the end, there was even a bang, and it directly exploded. It exploded the entire rune paper into pieces. Still not working? Qi Hongyue frowned, her mood instantly falling to the bottom. There was clearly nothing wrong with her sigil being drawn. Why or why not? And for this attempt, she had just switched to a better charm pen. Qi Hongyue took a deep breath to calm her mind and immediately began to summarize the problem. There's no problem with the talisman I drew, and the talisman brush is of the finest quality. so there won't be any problems either. The only thing that could be a problem would have to be the hegemonic ink and the talisman paper. And the talisman paper is the one I bought from the talisman hall. Everyone is using it and no one else has a problem with it. It doesn't make sense that the one I have is defective. The only problem may be with the Barmer. But, what will go wrong with Ba-Mo? Chi Honyue frowned. Without Ba-Mo's help, it would have been difficult for her to draw a second-order mid-grade talisman successfully. Not to mention the fact that he could now easily draw second-order upper-grade talismans. She frowned deeper and deeper, clearly having some trouble figuring it out. Could it be because there's a problem with the way the Ba-Mo is stored, resulting in some lack of yang energy, thus leading to problems with a decrease in effect? Chi Honyue eventually really did come up with a possible reason for the failure of the talisman making. That's when the yang energy of the Ba-Mo escaped too much, causing the quality of the Ba-Mo to drop. The idea had taken root within her mind just as soon as it had surfaced, and the more she thought about it, the more likely it became. Though she would collect and store her yang qi at the first opportunity every time she finished practicing and came back. But the process of transfer is needed in the meantime. After all, this was likely the cause of the decline in the quality of Ba-Mo's yang qi, and those yang qi might have some of her other elixirs. Whether this is the reason or not, we'll know if we try. Chi Honyue pondered in her heart. She then took out a transmission note and asked Yi Ba if he had time at this moment. She was going to turn to the patriarch for a solution. Soon, she received a reply from Yi Ba. Chi Honyue's face was delighted, and she immediately packed up the things needed for talisman making in front of her. He then walked to the depths of the room and set up the teleportation spell. After a flash of light, it had arrived inside the cave. Chi Honyue quickly walked towards the room where Yi Ba was. She soon met Yi Ba waiting for her in the room. Lord Sect Leader. Chi Honyue bowed and saluted. Ah! Yi Ba stretched out his hand and blocked the spirit fruit that Sun Yunyang handed over. He then sat up from the bed and curiously inquired. You just said within the sound transmission that you need my help? What exactly is it? Chi Honyue's cheeks blushed slightly as she lowered her head and said, Lord Sect Leader, I've recently been attempting to draw a third-order lower-grade talisman, but every time I get to the last step, I fail. I previously thought it was the talisman pen, but I just changed it to a better one today and it still doesn't work. Now I suspect it's Barmer. Chi Honyue explained. What is Ba-Mo? Yi Ba was a bit puzzled. This was the first time he had heard that talisman making required the use of such a thing. Odd knowledge to add to the list. Only then did Chi Honyue realize that she seemed to have said the wrong thing. She used to just be on her own and say she was used to it. Hastily explaining, Baimo is spirit ink. It's just that I added Lord Sect Leader's yang qi to it, thus renaming it as Baimo. Yi Ba. He was a bit speechless. What kind of stuff were these demonesses working on oh so much every day? Even if Qin Lan had taken yang qi for farming, this was another one used for blending spirit ink. How do you need me to help you? Yi Ba spoke faintly. Lord Sect Leader, I need a purer yang qi. Chi Honyue whispered. As if she was afraid that Yi Ba didn't understand, she added another sentence. It's the purest kind that doesn't go anywhere else and isn't mixed with other impurities. Yi Ba. Chapter 86 Third Order Lower Grade Talisman Making Technique. What do you mean? Let him do it himself? He was a noble Lord Sect Leader. How could he take matters like this into his own hands? Absolutely not. Chi Honyue was thinking about fart eating. The most he could do was teach Chi Honyue. Yi Ba told Sun Yunyang to wait outside. He was not yet in the habit of being surrounded by irrelevant people while cultivating. He then opened the protective spell formation in the room, isolating the inside and outside. Come here. Yi Ba guided Chi Honyue to a table inside the house. This was where he drew his charms on a regular basis. Now it just happened to be lent to Chi Honyue for use. Hong Yu, bring out the things you use for talisman making. Yi Ba opened his mouth and commanded. Good. Chi Honyue obediently took out the talisman paper, the overwhelming ink, and the red fire foxtail pen. At the same time, she had prepared a bowl of spirit ink without yang qi, just waiting for Yi Ba to provide it for her in a while. Hong Yu, the matter of drawing the talisman still needs your own contribution. Yi Ba spoke with a light smile. But, Lord Sect Leader, I can't do it alone. Chi Honyue was a bit anxious, thought Yi Ba was unwilling to help, but soon she realized that she had misunderstood Yi Ba. If I say I'll help you, but there's no way to do this kind of thing alone. Tell you what, I'll just teach you. Yi Ba opened his mouth. Is Lord Sect Leader teaching me to draw talismans? Chi Honyue was puzzled in her mind. In her impression, it seemed that Lord Sect Leader did not know how to make talismans, but there was no need for the Godfather Sama to deceive her to do so. Just as she was wondering, Yi Ba grabbed her wrist and made it hold the stem of the red fire foxtail pen. Feeling Yi Ba's powerful palm as well as the warmth of the pen, Chi Honyue's cheeks blushed. Hong Yu, rune paper charms need to calm the mind. You can't do it the way you are now. Yi Ba admonished. There are also rules about the way you hold the pen, with the palm facing inward and the thumb facing up. Also, to move up and down or rotate. Your wrist must be flexible enough. This way the lines of the talisman drawn will be smooth and not easily interrupted. Yi Ba was like a patient teacher, teaching Chi Hongyu. He was also a second-order upper-grade talisman maker, and was qualified to teach Chi Hongyu to hold a pen. Chi Hongyu finally understood what Yi Ba meant by asking her to contribute. It's really quite tiring to hold a pencil like that, but in order to be able to draw a third-order lower-grade talisman, she was willing to suffer no matter how hard it was. With time, and many attempts, she's finally getting the hang of it. The quill of the red fire foxtail pen in her hand also turned hot. In the end, she got fresh, pure Baha ink. Without saying a word, she immediately gripped the red fire foxtail pen tightly and quickly drew on the talisman paper in front of her. This time, she did it all in one go. The wrist is extremely fast. A few moments later, a complete 5 thunders spell had been drawn on the talisman paper. The moment she had just retracted her brush, suction erupted from the talisman, absorbing a large amount of spiritual energy from the surrounding area. It's a harbinger of success. After absorbing enough spiritual chi, a third-order upper-grade 5 thunders curse was also successfully refined. Chi Hongyue's face wore a joyful expression as she happily looked at Yi Ba. Your Holiness, I did it! Aha! You're good! Yi Ba nodded in satisfaction. Before his eyes, Chi Hongyue's panel also changed. Name, Chi Hongyue. Physique, 19 absolute vein, wonderful. Realm, early foundation stage. Qualification, excellent water spiritual root. Talent, 1,000 tides of enchanting bones, imperial. Avatar, none. Talisman technique, lower grade. Third order. Technique, swallowing dragon technique. Spells, intermediate charm. Water butterfly, dragon. The column of its talismanic art had clearly turned into a lower grade of the third rank. This meant that Yi Ba himself could continue to gain experience in talisman arts. This was also the reason why he was willing to help Chi Hongyue. After all, helping Chi Hongyu was helping himself. Hongyu, what kind of talisman is this? Yi Ba curiously inquired. This is the 5 thunder incantation, comparable to the power of spells at the early stage of Jiedan. Chi Hongyue introduced. Then you draw a few more. If Ba Mo doesn't have enough, you'll contribute yourself. Yi Ba laughed lightly. Then leave me 10 or 8 sheets. The early stage of Jiedan talisman was also somewhat helpful to him. Good. Chi Hongyue nodded her head in agreement. Quietly, he began to draw the sigil. However, in the process of making talismans, the consumption of soul power was great. Moreover, the current Chi Hongyue was merely an early foundation establishment cultivator, and her divine soul power was not strong enough. Drawing such a high-grade talisman was a great challenge for herself. Often, when they drew out a sheet, they had to stop and take an elixir to regulate and recover their soul power. But even so, she ended up only drawing out 5 thunder curses before she couldn't hold on any longer. Lord Sect Leader, I can't, Chi Hongyue gasped. These 5 thunder incantations will be given to you first. The rest I will continue to draw when I recover after I return, and I will send them over to Lord Sect Leader at that time. Aha! Yi Ba nodded lightly. He then continued, you've come all this way, cultivate for a while before you leave. Ah! A hint of joy appeared on Chi Hongyue's slightly tired face. It's not like it's her turn today. It was kind of a windfall for her. There was certainly no reason to refuse, and she nodded her head in agreement with a small peck of her head. A day later, the cultivation ended. Chi Hongyue's face revealed a strong color of joy as she sensed the spiritual energy that had grown a lot within her dantian. She had actually made an unexpected breakthrough in yesterday's cultivation. Nowadays, she was already a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Thank you, Sect Leader, for helping me make a breakthrough. Chi Hongyue looked to Yi Ba, who was on the side, and said gratefully. Yi Ba nodded with a light smile. You worked hard enough yourself. He was only thinking of gaining some experience in the talisman making technique, but he didn't expect Chi Hongyue to be so competitive and break through on her own. However, he wasn't surprised by the confrontation. Even though Chi Hongyue's breakthrough to foundation establishment was much slower than Chu Waste and Bu Shanghua, however, it had the talent of an imperial grade, 1,000 tides enchanting bone, which could greatly enhance the efficiency of cultivation and gain more benefits during the process of cultivating with him. Thus in today's cultivation exceeding Chu Waste and Bu Shanghua was also something that deserved to happen. But a few people, even if there was some disparity, it wouldn't be too big as all. Chu Waste's sun and moon spiritual body could absorb the essence of the sun and moon, and his cultivation speed wasn't slow. As for Bu Shanghua, the supreme sword body that he possessed was a saint-grade offensive physique. Even if his realm was slower to ascend, his battle power wouldn't be any worse than Chi Hongyue, who had made a breakthrough now. None of the several demonesses had a bad physique. It was just that each had advantages in different directions. Well, Lord Godfather, can I take away some of the bajime? I just ran out of them. Chi Hongyue lowered her head and said with some embarrassment. Of course, but half of the talismans you draw in the future will have to be given to me. Yiba gently nodded and spoke. Shi Hongyu couldn't always whore him out for nothing, could she? It's always necessary to come up with some corresponding payment. After all, he was the master. Shi Hongyu is just a loyal dog. Okay, sect leader. Shi Hongyu happily agreed. Even if she had to take out half of the charms, she'd still make a good profit. A third-order lower-grade talisman could be sold for many spirit stones. Chapter 87. Each of your disciples works hard. Rune Road experience plus 500. Third-order lower-grade talisman maker, 500/8,000. In just 10 days or so, I'll be a third-order lower-grade rune maker as well. Yiba looked at the panel that popped up in front of him and murmured in a low voice. Inside the Peak Master's Great Hall, Drunken Butterfly looked upwards at Yu, who was cultivating with her eyes closed, and frowned slightly. In less than 2 months, Yu's cultivation had already fallen to the early stage of Jiadan. The body revealed an aura of decay and corruption. It's like a flower that's about to wilt without nourishment. How long can you keep it up? Drunken Butterfly opened her mouth to inquire. The speed at which my cultivation is escaping is much faster than I thought. I should be falling back to the Foundation Establishment realm soon, and the rate of falling down the realm will only get faster after that. Yu replied, and with a beat of her voice continued. In 4 months at the most, I will become completely mortal. Sister, don't worry about me. This should be my destiny. Bull ***** robbery. My generation of cultivators' cultivation is originally against the heavens. My life is by me, not by heaven. Drunken Butterfly sneered. The fact that you have ended up where you are today is completely self-inflicted. Yu smiled and shook her head. She couldn't make sense with this sister of hers. Did not dwell further on the matter. Yu pondered for a split second before opening her mouth to inquire about the recent situation of several of her disciples. What she was most relieved about was still her 4 disciples. Those disciples under you are diligent in their cultivation. I basically can't see them go out during this period of time. They are all cultivating in their residences. They are probably preparing for the peaks competition. Drunken Butterfly replied. Especially Sun Yunyang. I've seen her come out of her room once since I got back. That's good. Yu nodded in relief. Although Yunyang is not as talented as her other sisters, her cultivation is hard enough. The Taoist heart is firm, which is why I accepted her as a disciple in the first place. Diligence makes up for clumsiness. Of the several disciples, Yunyang is probably the most promising to break through to the Yuaning great cultivator in the future. You'd better mind your own business. Drunken Butterfly snorted coldly and turned around to leave the grand hall. Alas! Behind her, Yu let out a deep sigh. 20 days later, inside the cave, the aura on Yiba's body shook, and then began to climb rapidly. A moment later, a hint of joy appeared on its face. The breath on his body was also slowly falling back. After this period of cultivation, he had also managed to break through to the late stage of foundation establishment. In fact, he didn't cultivate much. It was mainly all the cultivation provided by the 4 Chu waste. Yiba felt that this was quite good. The female devils sucked him in, and he sucked them back. Perfectly closed loop belongs to Iz. The grandiose plan to fatten himself by thinning the whole clan of female devils has gotten off to a good start. Subsequently, Yiba summoned the panel to check it out. Name, Yiba. Physique, Supreme Yang Immortal Body, Immortal Grade. Sword Spirit Body, Wonderful Grade. 9 Suns Absolute Vein, Wonderful Grade. Burning Sky Body, King Grade. Greenwood Source Body, King Grade. 9 Phoenix Luanine Body, 22. 400 out of 100. 000, Emperor Grade. Realm, Late Foundation Stage. Qualification, Superior Water Spiritual Roots, Superior Earth Spiritual Roots, Superior Fire Spiritual Roots, Earth Grade Gold Spiritual Roots, Earth Grade Wood Spiritual Roots. Talent, Grass and Tree Sense, Wonderful. Soul Puppet Cosense, Kings. Avatar, 5 Elements Formation Center. Alchemy, Lower Grade. Third Order, Talisman Making, Upper Grade. Second Order, Formation Technique, Third Order Medium Grade. Puppetry, Second Order Upper Grade. Technique, Great Ultimate Bliss Taoist Technique. Spells, Fireball, Fire Python, Gengjin Sword Chi, Nourishing Art, Solidifying Art, Spear and Shield, Great Lance Walking Art. In addition to the increase in cultivation, his formation art had also been upgraded to the middle 3rd rank. In addition, he had also learned 2 secret arts that assisted in cultivation, Spear and Shield, and the Big Gun Row book. The boost in the direction of aiding cultivation is significant, roughly 1.5 times higher. It made him gain experience much faster. Right at this moment, light fanned out on the teleportation array outside, and Deng Xiahan's figure emerged in it. It slowly came to the front of Yiba's room and spoke softly. Sect leader, I've brought what you wanted. Come in. Inside the house, Yiba responded indifferently. Deng Xiahan pushed the door in, and after making a bow towards Yiba, he immediately took out a copper mirror from within his storage bag. Introducing Sect leader. This is the heaven peeping mirror. In conjunction with the heavenly eye stone I'm carrying on my person, I can view images within 1,000 miles across the sky. Oh, Yiba's expression moved as he took the bronze mirror from Deng Xiaohan's hand and carefully examined it. The copper mirror was only the size of a palm, with one side as smooth as a mirror, while the other side was inscribed with a dense array pattern. It's cold and heavy in the hand. This was something he had Tong Xiaohan refine in order to be able to observe the peaks competition from a distance. The Great Peaks Competition. The Great Ultimate Bliss Immortal Sect's 36 peaks collectively participated, and there were bound to be many geniuses appearing in it. Yiba wanted to identify a few suitable geniuses among them as potential targets. Currently, of the female demons around him, only Qian Yurong could still provide him with experience. The others were no longer of great use to him. That's why he needs better talented demonesses. However, he wasn't completely sure about whether or not he could see the demoness information panel when observing from across the room, and hadn't attempted it before. What is the spell that opens it? Yiba inquired. Deng Xiaohan took out a jade tablet from within his storage bag and handed it to Yiba. The spell is in here. Yiba took it and stuck it on his brow. His divine sense disappeared into it, and he was instantly informed of the spell to open the heaven-prying mirror. The Dharma was so simple that he learned it just by reading it once. He pinched his hand with one hand and pointed out towards the heaven-peeping mirror in his hand. Buzz! The heaven-peeping mirror trembled lightly, and a faint spiritual light erupted from it. The aura shone on a wall to the side, and images immediately appeared inside, similar to a projector. Only the picture inside made Yiba a little puzzled. It was actually a snowy white. What is this situation? Yiba looked at Deng Xiaohan and asked why. Deng Xiaohan's cheeks blushed. Then he took out a pendant that was deep within his chest. The pendant was hung from its neck by a red cord, and below it was a yellow orb with eye-like patterns. Sect leader. This is the Heaven's Eye Stone. In order to conveniently view the image without being suspected by others, I brought it with me. Tang Xiaohan opened his mouth to explain. Yiba nodded indistinctly. No wonder it was so white just now. He looked to the image that was once again projected on the wall, which by now was also back to normal. The scene in the picture is exactly the scene inside the house. The angle is about 160 degrees, still a super wide angle. Yiba was satisfied with this. Afterwards, he stepped forward and removed the Heaven's Eye Stone from Deng Xiaohan's hand and shown it towards him. He looked at the picture on the wall again. At this time, he also finally confirmed that it was possible to view other people's information through the remote viewing situation. Returning the Heaven's Eye Stone to Deng Xiaohan, Yiba complimented. Well done. It's good that Lord Sect Leader is satisfied. In addition, you can remotely manipulate the Heaven's Eye Stone through the Heaven's Peeping Mirror. You can change the angle of the Heaven's Eye Stone through vibration. Yiba raised his eyebrows. Deng Xiaohan was quite considerate. He strangled and struck the Heaven Peeping Mirror to manipulate the Heaven Eye Stone. The Heaven's Eye Stone was found to be trembling slightly in Deng Xiaohan's chest, and then it also managed to change its angle. Yiba nodded in satisfaction. Deng Xiaohan had once used the protective formations within the cave to spy. It's still pretty good at making this kind of stuff. This is called a specialty. Chapter 88 Prime Peak. Shen Yulin. Great Ultimate Bliss Immortal Sect. The peak of the sect's main peak. The five young beauties stood in mid-air and struck out towards the void in front of them in unison. The void in front of them rippled violently. In a tremor, an incomparably huge pitch-black crack actually split open. Rumble. The crack continued to expand, and a huge object flew out from it. It was a huge circular ring. The body was made of unknown materials, black on one side and snow white on the other. Below the ring, countless runic formations were inscribed, and at this moment, they were all emanating bursts of spiritual light. Under the control of the five people, the circular ring slowly hovered in mid-air, no longer moving. The yin and yang ring has been stabilized, so we can allow the disciples of all peaks to enter. One of the beautiful women spoke softly. Yes, elder. At the back, a disciple responded. Soon, the disciples, elders, and peak masters of the 36 peaks all flew up into midair one after another, sitting down one after another in the aura seats floating around the yin-yang two-year ring. 36 peaks, each occupying a direction. The disciples of Red Luan Peak were led by G. Drunken Butterfly and sat down near the northwest corner. According to the rules of the peaks competition, each peak could send 20 Foundation Establishment disciples and 5 Jiedan disciples to participate. Thus Red Luan Peak, besides disciples such as Qian Yurong, Sun Yun Yang, and Chu Waste, there were also other disciples within the peak attending, and Tang Xiaohan was also among them. At this moment, the Heaven's Eye Stone in Deng Xiaohan's chest position was trembling slightly. Inside the cave, Yi Ba, who had finally adjusted his angle, lay on the bed and looked at the projection on the ceiling. After seeing the magnificent playing field in front of him, he was also surprised. This was the first time he had seen such a shocking scene. Right at this moment, a young beautiful woman dressed in white flew up in the middle of the ring, and as she looked around, she slowly opened her mouth. Welcome to all the peak masters who have come with their disciples to participate in this peaks competition. The rules of the great competition. In the spirit of the intention of fellow disciples sparring, in the great competition shall not kill, shall not waste, except for my own magic weapon, shall not use the large power disposable magic weapon, shall not take the elixir to stimulate the potential, the power of the talisman, the puppet and other external objects cannot exceed their own cultivation realm. The above situation if there is a violation, the qualification of the competition will be cancelled at once. Heavier cases will be dealt with according to the clan rules. Now, the foundation establishment disciples from each peak participating come forward to draw lots. The young beauty tapped her storage bag, and a round ball-shaped, honeycomb-like magic weapon flew up into the air. As the spell rotated, a stream of light shot out from it, splitting into 36 regions suspended in midair, corresponding to the locations of the 36 peaks. Seeing this, within the 36 peaks, many disciples got up and flew into midair, grasping a stream of light in their hands. Deng Xiaohan looked at the jade sign in his hand, which was inscribed with the number 6. The others had their own numbers in their hands. The 20 foundation establishment participating disciples of Hongwan Peak corresponded to 20 numbers. They would compete with disciples who got the same number within other peaks, and the winners would get the corresponding points. The peaks will eventually be ranked according to the number of points accumulated. Soon, the disciples of each peak were already taking their numbers and returning to their seats. However, there was one of the peaks that had no disciple to come up and take the jade token. In the ring, the white-robed middle-aged beauty frowned and looked towards the seats beside the ring. There was just one person sitting there, and the seats around it were empty. Peak Master Shin, does your peak still not have any disciples to participate in the grand competition this time? The white-clothed beautiful woman opened her mouth to inquire. Aha! The latter nodded lightly. Prime Heaven Peak has not had any disciples participate in the grand competition for 4 consecutive times. According to the Sect rules, if there are still no disciples participating in the grand competition next time, Prime Heaven Peak will be removed from the Sect, the white-clothed beauty said in a deep voice. Yulin knows, Shin Yulin replied softly, her cold brows frowning slightly, a touch of sorrow under her eyes. Her master's father sat down and returned to the heavens after dropping the Peak Master position on her. When Prime Peak reached her generation, she was the only one left on the entire peak, plus an old dog. She had also thought about going out to recruit disciples, but once those disciples heard that she was the only peak master in the entire peak, they all changed their minds and went to other peaks. A strong sense of powerlessness rose in her heart. The Prime Peak, which was always at the bottom of the peaks competition, also had pitifully few cultivation resources. The various medicinal fields within the peak were even barren. The white-clothed beauty in the ring nodded toward Shin Yulin gently before paying no more attention and began to continue presiding over the grand competition. Inside the cave, Yiba met Shin Yulin through Teng Xiaohan's perspective. He took a keen interest in this peak master. Its looks were extremely beautiful, wearing ice crystal-colored robes, as if it was a fairy that had fallen from the sky. At the same time, this woman's information appeared in front of him. Name, Shin Yulin. Physique, cold ice sacred body, holy. Realm, Middle Jiadun. Qualification, Heavenly Ice Spiritual Root. Talent, Ice and Jade, Imperial. Avatar, None. Talisman making, 3rd order upper grade. Technique, Swallowing Dragon Technique. Spells, Advanced Charm. Ice Dragon. Ice Blade. 1,000-mile Ice Seal. Hiss. Yiba sucked in a breath of cool air. This Shin Yulin is simply a superb. Not only did he have a saint-grade physique, but he also had an emperor-grade talent. In addition, the quality of its spirit root was actually a heavenly grade above the earthly grade. If he himself could obtain her, his strength would definitely have a huge increase. Yiba immediately set it as his future goal. If he didn't take this kind of extreme product, he would feel sorry for himself. And with the announcement of the white-clothed beautiful woman on the ring, the competition between the disciples of each peak officially began. The gigantic yin-yang binary ring was automatically divided into 25 smaller rings under the control of a few elders of the Great Ultimate Bliss Immortal Sect. 20 of the rings were used by Foundation Stage disciples, while the remaining 5 were used by Jiadan Stage disciples. The disciples of the 35 peaks, according to the numbers on their hands, boarded the corresponding ring. The disciples in each ring competed for rankings according to the ring challenge. For example, in the 6th ring where Deng Xiaohan was, the disciples above would be guarding the ring based on their individual strengths, and during the guarding period all the other disciples could attack the ring, and the one who won in the end would be the first in the 6th ring. This is followed by a second disciple guarding the ring for second, and so on. Yiba looked at the many female devils in ring number 6. Most of them did not have a special physique. A few of them had a chi pin or myriad pin physique, while there was one each of a king pin and emperor pin physique. The quality is okay. Yiba murmured in his heart, secretly memorizing the imperial grade disciple's appearance and name. intending to ask Deng Xiaohan for specific information afterwards. As for that kingpins, to be honest, the current one was already a bit unattractive to him. Chapter 89 Hongwan Peak is in the limelight. Deng Xiaohan of Hongwan Peak, please enlighten your fellow disciples. On ring number 6, Deng Xiaohan came to the center of the ring and arched his hand towards the surroundings. A disciple of Red Luan Peak, that Red Luan Peak that was always at the bottom in the past? Humph, if it weren't for Prime Peak holding up the bottom, Red Luan Peak would be the bottom of the list. Senior sister, with your cultivation in the middle stage of foundation establishment, how did you have the courage to be the first to defend the ring? Come on down, let Sister Chi from Sovereign Peak be the first to guard the ring. You shouldn't waste everyone's time. That's right, it's hard to believe that you still think you can beat Senior Sister Chi. The surrounding disciples couldn't help but sneer out after hearing that Deng Xiaohan was a disciple of Red Luan Peak. Others were expressing their dissatisfaction, feeling that Deng Xiaohan was really wasting their time. After all, the first one to guard the ring deserved to be the strongest one, but Deng Xiaohan clearly wasn't. What genius can come out of Hongwan Peak? The disciple who was addressed as Senior Sister Chi frowned. Just now, she had wanted to go up and be the first to guard the ring, but she didn't expect to be preempted by Deng Xiaohan. In the bottom of his heart, he was somewhat dissatisfied with Deng Xiaohan's actions. However, as a disciple of the Sovereign Peak, she should have the heart of the Sovereign Peak, and she could not disgrace the Sovereign Peak outside. Thus, after a moment of contemplation, she looked around and said soothingly, "What Senior Sister Tang has done is in line with the rules of the ring challenge, so everyone will just challenge according to the regulations. Senior Sister Chi is right. It's still Senior Sister Chi who is broad-minded. That's right, unlike some people who have no self-awareness. Senior Sister Chi, go up and teach her a lesson and kick her out of the ring. This will also save everyone's time." The disciples around them chimed in. Chi Nan raised her eyebrows slightly. She was within the rules when she challenged Deng Xiaohan at this time. Thus, after pondering for an instant, she also came directly in front of Deng Xiaohan. In a deep voice, he spoke. "Senior Sister Tang, let me learn about your strength." Good. Deng Xiaohan nodded his head, not putting the Chi Nan in front of him in the slightest. The elder in charge of statistics on the side saw this and passed out a loud voice. "Sovereign Peak Chi Nan versus Red Luan Peak Deng Xiaohan." Swish. Just as the words fell, Chi Nan offered his own magic weapon, which was a golden needle-like magic weapon, narrow and slender. The speed of the shot was extremely fast, and it arrived in front of Deng Xiaohan almost instantly. Deng Xiaohan's face remained unchanged as she raised her hand and waved it lightly. Several formation patterns were drawn by her out of thin air. A protective spell formation was created out of thin air in an instant. Boo! The moment the golden needle pierced the protective spell formation, it was bounced straight out. How is it possible? She actually blocked Senior Sister Chi's attack. Some of the disciples watching the battle around them cried out in shock. Deng Xiaohan's attainments in formations are so deep that he can draw formation patterns out of thin air, something that very few formation masters in the sect can do. The insightful disciple spoke in a deep voice, seeing Deng Xiaohan's means. So Deng Xiaohan still has some strength? Senior Sister Chi is in the late stage of foundation establishment. The realm gap is there. Deng Xiaohan can't win. Right in the middle of the crowd's discussion, Chi Nan struck again. The golden light on its body blazed out, and countless golden lights smashed into Deng Xiaohan like rain. Deng Xiaohan's face was bland. The protective spell formation on her body could block even a Dan stage attack. Naturally, he would not be afraid of Chi Nan. Boo! Boom boom boom. After a series of attacks, Deng Xiaohan was unharmed, and the protective spell formation in front of him showed no signs of breaking at all. What's going on here? Chi Nan muttered, her eyebrows furrowed together. She was confident that her attack had reached the strength of a half-step Jiedan, so how could Deng Xiaohan possibly defend against it? And just when she wanted to perform a stronger tactic, Deng Xiaohan shook his head gently in his mind and struck out as well. Chi Nan didn't deserve to be her opponent. Deng Xiaohan flicked his fingers in all directions, and a little bit of spiritual light formed a strange shape hanging in midair. Buzz! It was connected with a buzzing sound. An attack and kill formation instantly took shape. This formation was set up by her with the help of the great momentum of the void. The moment it was formed, a dark spatial blade emerged within it, spinning and chopping towards Chi Nan. What a terrifying aura! I'm a bit out of breath. Is this an attack that the foundation stage can unleash and send out? Isn't she from Red Luan Peak? How could she be so strong? Deng Xiaohan? I remember that name. The moment Deng Xiaohan's attack came out, it caused the nearby disciples to turn pale in disbelief. Boom! The spatial blade viciously chopped at a shield artifact in front of Chi Nan, chopped it off easily. However, just as it wanted to take a step closer, the Jiedan stage elder on the side dashed forward and blocked the spatial sharp edge. Aha! The Jiedan elder stifled a grunt and almost didn't catch it. She didn't expect this space sharp blade to be so powerful. It was good that in the end, Deng Xiaohan dispersed the space sharpener. Qinan's face was unsightly. She had thought that she was bound to win first place, but she hadn't expected that Red Luan Peak had actually produced a genius. Red Luan Peak. Deng Xiaohan wins. Deng Xiaohan waved his hand to disperse the spell formation in front of him and looked around at the disciples in midair, speaking in a faint voice. Next, the many disciples below looked at each other in dismay. None of them wanted to come up to challenge and bowed their heads without uttering a word. Qinan had been defeated, and they considered themselves inferior to Qinan. Neither wanted to go up there and make a fool of themselves. After 10 breaths, the Jiedan elder saw that there was still no one to challenge. It was announced, Deng Xiaohan of Red Luan Peak is awarded first place in ring number 6. Deng Xiaohan nodded slightly towards the Jiedan elder, then tapped his foot and left the ring to return towards where Red Luan Peak was located. At the Red Luan Peak location, Qilan stood up to greet him with satisfaction, a thick smile on her face. Deng Xiaohan had not only fought for Red Luan Peak, but also for the formation hall. Ji Drunken Butterfly, who was sitting beside Qilan, also rose in surprise and complimented. You've taught a good disciple. Qilan's face glowed as he humbly said, Xiaohan has enough talent of his own and works hard too. Deng Xiaohan resumed his seat. His heart was not in a state of great emotional upheaval. She was a saint's quality physique, and it was only natural for her to defeat Qinan. I don't know when it will end. Deng Xiaohan sighed in his heart. She wanted to get back to practicing. The day she didn't see the Godfather, it was hard for her. Inside the cave, Yiba had a smile on his face. It was like going out for a dogfight and his own dog won first place. The master was certainly pleased. In addition to that, within Deng Xiaohan's perspective just now, he met Ji Drunken Butterfly's message. Name, Ji Drunken Butterfly. Physique, Wine Sword Imperial Body, Imperial Grade. Realm, Peak Late Jiedan Stage. Qualification, Heavenly Gold Spiritual Root. Talent, Never Say Die, Imperial. Avatar, Silent Sword Dao. Brewing Technique, 3rd Order Upper Grade. Technique, Swallowing Dragon Technique. Spells, Advanced Phantasmagoria. Imperial Sword Art. Dragon Slaying Art. Heavenly Sword Art. Dual Emperor Products. Plus the Divine Ability Silent Sword Dao. Yiba found another treasure demoness. Chapter 90, Don't Progress the Living Flower. The match in the arena continued, and Yiba adjusted the angle of the heavenly eye stone to look at the rings in various places in front of him. With a single sweep, he saw at least 7 or 8 imperial grade physiques. Sacred physique disciples also saw too. Looking at him was incredibly coveted, but nay, his current strength didn't allow it. One can only note their names down for the time being and put them on the loyal dog waiting list. Suddenly, his eyes were drawn to a familiar figure. It's exactly the steppe birth flower. It stood on top of the ring, with an icy coldness on its face that made it uninhabitable, and cut down its opponent with a sword. Of course, he entered casually. He's an acquaintance. After defeating the last opponent, Steppe Shenghua also won the first place in the ring challenge. Yiba was not surprised by this because just a few days ago, Wu Shenghua and Shu Waste had also broken through to the middle stage of foundation establishment one after another. Wu Shenghua's cultivation was the way of the sword. The power of the Gongfu was powerful. Coupled with the supreme sword body of the holy product, the opponents in the late stage of foundation establishment were simply not enough to look at. According to Bu Shenghua herself, her current battle power was at the early stage of Jiedan. As time passed, one after another, the disciples of Red Luan Peak returned. Apart from Bu Shenghua and Deng Xiaohan who won first place, Shu Waste and Qin Lan both only won second. Shu Waste was unlucky to have encountered a late-stage foundation establishment Empyrean physique, and it was the same offensive type of physique. Although she used her full strength, she was still undefeated. Qin Lan, on the other hand, because his own physique didn't add anything to his battle power, his opponent had a king's quality offensive physique and his battle power was a bit stronger. Shi Hongyue and Sun Yunyang were a bit weaker. Shi Hongyue took a bottom 30th place, and Sun Yunyang was 25th. The other Red Luan Peak disciples were basically ranked at the bottom. In the end, there was only one Jiedan disciple left, Xian Yurong, who had yet to finish the competition. In the entire Hongluan Peak, other than Xian Yuyong, there were no young Jiedan disciples. The others were all older Jiedan elders. It was the one that didn't have the face to go up and compete with the juniors. Winning is disgraceful and losing is even more humiliating. Xian Yurong was in the ring where he was, and he was not the first to defend the ring. Her realm today was at the early stage of Jiedan, and with the help of the Sect leader, her 9 phoenix Luanine body had been completely awakened, and now that the 9 phoenixes were all gathered together, her battle power had gained a great enhancement. Confident that he could defeat a mid-stage Jiedan cultivator, but the ring she was in was full of 18 late-stage Jiedan cultivators. With such a huge realm gap, it was impossible for her to be an opponent, so she's waiting for the right moment. It was only after all 15 late Jiedan cultivators in front of her had gained their placements that she stepped forward to try to compete for the placements behind her. But right at this moment, A female cultivator in green clothes jumped ahead and entered the center of the ring. Qinghuan Peak Emochingi, please enlighten your fellow disciples. Emochingi looked at the remaining disciples with contempt. With her mid-Jiedan cultivation, plus her Kingpin's Royal Dao magic sound talent, there would not be any disciples who would be her opponent. This had been verified several times in the previous Peaks competitions. She knew all the disciples present. All of them had once been her defeats. The only newcomer that she was not aware of was Red Luan Foam, but it didn't matter. It was merely an early Jiedan cultivator. It would be best if the other party had the sense to admit defeat directly, or else she wouldn't mind making a move to teach her a lesson or two. As Emochingi's words fell, none of the Jiedan cultivators present went forward. They were all clear about Emochingi's strength. Time passed, just when Emochingi thought that there was no challenge and he would win straight away. Qian Yurong took a step in front of it, lightly opening her mouth. Red Luan Peak Qian Yurong, please enlighten me. Senior sister, are you sure? An early stage Jiedan stage is going to fight me? Emochingi frowned and asked back. Aha! Your Red Luan Peak has ranked below my Green Luan Peak every time. Haven't you learned your lesson yet? You're not my opponent. I'll give you a chance to admit defeat. Otherwise, if you strike in a while, I won't be merciful. Emochingi's tone was condescending, not placing Qian Yuyang in his eyes. With her strength, she could destroy the other party with a lift of her hand. Senior sister, please. Qian Yurong had no intention of backing down. Her master treated her with great kindness, and this time, even if she put her best foot forward, she would defeat Emochingi and gain a good ranking in return for her master's kindness. Seeing Qian Yurong's lack of understanding, Emochingi's face also turned cold. Red Luan Peak Qian Yurong vs Qingluan Peak Emochingi. Accompanied by the fall of the transmission of drinks from the Jiedan elder on the side, the two struck almost simultaneously. Emochingi tapped his storage bag and conjured up a green-colored ancient zither. Between raising his hand and fluctuating, a sound wave was transformed into various spells as if it were substantial, flooding towards Qian Yurong. Senior Sister Mo's Imperial Dao demonic sound talent is a perfect match for the magic weapon Duqin, and can fully utilize the power of her talent. On the side, a disciple who was familiar with Emochingi opened his mouth. Qian Yurong is a bit out of her depth. This kind of attack can't even be blocked by an intermediate Jiedan stage, let alone her. An early Jiedan stage. A disciple opened his mouth, not favoring Qian Yurong. After all, its early Jiedan cultivation was there. It's an inherent disadvantage. However, right at this moment, the aura of Qian Yurong's body erupted, and 7 Phoenix Luan of enormous size burrowed out of her body. Between the flaps of the Phoenix Luan's wings, a large number of spirit feathers erupted, shattering those spells that had been condensed with spells. However, the moment those spells shattered, a large amount of woozy sounds came out from them. It invaded Qian Yurong's mind, causing confusion in her consciousness. Its movements jerked. Right at this moment, Emochingi saw the opportunity to use her zither to condense a sharp sword and stab at Qian Yuyong. Just as the sword was about to pierce Qian Yurong's face, his eyes snapped, and a Phoenix Luan once again drilled out from within his body to crush the sword. At the same time, the other 7 Phoenix Luan together, head and tail connected. Willink Chingy hole surrounded in the center? A large number of green light diffusion. Willink Chingy trapped in it? No matter how it struggles cannot get out of the trap. Emochingi's face was ugly as he questioned. Were you not affected by my demonic sound just now? He. Since I know that Senior Sister has the Imperial Dao demonic sound, how could I not be worried? Qian Yurong laughed lightly, and at the center of her eyebrows, a Phoenix Luan loomed. It was this last Phoenix Luan that protected her divine soul. Subsequently, she pinched her knuckles with one hand and struck out towards the Phoenix Luan circle in midair, and instantly a huge confining force erupted, making Emochingi, who was in the middle of it, unable to move at all, and even her internal organs were squeezed and oozing blood. I admit defeat. A hint of panic appeared under her eyes as she hastily conceded defeat. In that instant just now, she felt the scent of death. Qian Yurong sniffed and raised his hand to call Feng Luan back. Red Luan Peak Qian Yurong wins. The Jiedan elder droned out in a deep voice. With a smile on his face, Qian Yurong looked around and opened his mouth. Which other fellow disciples would like to give advice? The others looked at each other in disbelief, none of them challenging. Although Qian Yurong was only at the early stage of Jiedan, his battle power was too strong. It was no worse than a normal late-stage Jiedan. They thought they were no match. Naturally, you don't go up there to be humiliated. After 10 breaths, the Jiedan elder also declared Qian Yurong the winner once again. Chapter 91, The Great Competition Ends. 28th place. How can it be? Senior Sister Qingyi actually lost. And she lost to a disciple from Red Luan Peak. A young female disciple exclaimed out in shock from where Qingluan Peak was located, her face full of disbelief. What's it like to yell and scream? Sit down. Beside him, a middle-aged beautiful woman droned in a low voice. The latter chilled and sat down obediently. Senior, There's something wrong with Red Luan Peak this time. I saw them take out good rankings in several rings. In the Foundation Establishment Disciples Ring, they even got 2 first places. Another female disciple seated to the left of the middle-aged beauty frowned and spoke. What do you see? Green Luan Peak Master Yuan Lengsheng frowned. That Deng Xiahan and Bu Shenghua. Disciples have never heard of them before. It's as if they came out of nowhere. And disciples are puzzled by this. There must be something here that we don't know about. I'm familiar with a Spirit Slave Hall disciple on Red Luan Peak, so I can investigate afterward. Yuan Lengsheng nodded gently. I'll leave this matter to you. Make sure to investigate the situation clearly. It's Master. Yun Yun responded with a respectful voice. The bout continued in the ring, but it was also quickly coming to a close. In the end, Hongwan Peak gained 1,353 points and ranked 28th. The ranking was a full 7 places higher than the last peak's competition. Although both Deng Xiahan and Bu Shenghua had won first place in their respective rings, it was because the other disciples of Red Luan Peak were not able to do so and dragged their feet. In addition, there was only one Jiedan disciple, Xian Yurong, and the other peaks had at most 5. The points they gained were naturally no better than the other peaks. However, the people of Red Luan Peak were quite happy about this result. This meant that they could obtain more resources for cultivation. Moreover, they have cleared their own ranking as the second of 10,000 years. Compared to the opening of the Red Luan Peak crowd, Green Luan Peak had a hard time because they became the second. On the contrary, Optimus Peak, the bottom one, didn't have much of a reaction. There wasn't a single disciple on Prime Peak. Coming to participate in the peaks competition was completely over to make up the numbers. The penultimate is more secure than whoever is sitting there. The crowd returned to Red Luan Peak under the leadership of G Drunken Butterfly. Xian Yurong's several faces were filled with smiles, and they all couldn't wait to tell Ji Yu the good news. Senior uncle, if my master's father can hear this news in a while, he will definitely be extremely happy. Xian Yurong looked at G Drunken Butterfly to the side and spoke with a smile. Of course she'll be happy. G Drunken Butterfly nodded non-committally. That sister of hers, she only thinks of others in everything, and only herself in the end. However, this time, Xian Yurong's few people were also considered to be competitive and took a good ranking. Under G Drunken Butterfly's leadership, Ji Yu's group of disciples, plus Bu Shenghua came together to the Peak Masters Hall. At this moment, the door of the Peak Masters Hall was open, and Ji Yu was wearing a large red robe, sitting on the seat above. Seeing Xian Yurong and the others return, a hint of a smile appeared on his slightly haggard face. Senior, we got the 28th place at the Peaks competition. Xian Yurong bowed in obeisance while speaking happily. 28th place? Ji Yu muttered, a look of relief on her face as she nodded. You guys did a great job. I'm relieved to have you guys at Red Luan Peak. Immediately after his words, he said in a deep voice, 3 days later I will announce Yurong as the Peak Master. Xian Yurong was stunned and looked at Ji Yu in confusion. Ji Yu sighed, then raised her hand and waved it lightly, turning on the Peak Master Hall protection spell formation. The matter of her injury was destined to remain hidden. Now it's time to account for what happened after she abdicated. The injuries on my body can't be controlled anymore. In less than 3 months, my cultivation will completely escape to become immortal. At that time, Red Luan Peak will be handed over to you, Ji Yu said in his showdown. Xian Yurong's face stagnated as he looked at Ji Yu in disbelief. Agitated. Didn't you say that the injuries on your body could be recovered in the first place? Did you lie to me? Senior, why are you hiding such an important matter from us? Sun Yunyang opened her mouth, her brows furrowed together. What was on his mind? On the other hand, was the request for his master to save his master's life in the back. Ji Yu had also been extremely kind to her over the years, and she couldn't bear to see it become a waste of space just like that. With tears in her eyes, Xinlan looked at Ji Yu in a daze, her heart aching like a knife twisting. Subconsciously, he looked towards Chu Waist. The latter directly ignored his gaze. Chu Waist naturally knew what Xinlan meant, which was nothing more than wanting the sect leader to save Ji Yu. But how could she be in charge of such a thing? I understand how you all feel at this time, but there are some things that were predetermined a long time ago, so you don't have to be too sad. Ji Yu sighed and spoke. What does it look like for one to cry and cry? Like you guys? How can you manage the entire Red Luan Peak? Ji Drunken Butterfly frowned and lightly shouted, a look of boredom on her face. In the bottom of his heart, he very much did not see these disciples of Ji Yu. Feeling that his sister was giving her all for these disciples was not worth it at all. One by one, they all suck. Xian Yurong lowered his head, his teeth clenched. Her mood dropped instantly from the top of the mountain to the bottom. I won't let my master turn into a mortal and die of old age, she muttered mentally. For cultivators, becoming immortal could be worse than death. The master had been so kind to her, and it was only because of what happened to her that she had become what she was today. Even if it was a life for a life, she had to let her master recover. Nowadays, only the sect leader can save master, Xian Yurong secretly said. She had already decided in her mind that she would go over and beg the godfather in a moment. She would agree to whatever conditions the sect leader put forth. Master, is there really no way at all? Chu Waist spoke tentatively. Ji Yu gently shook her head. My dantian was pierced by the heavenly lightning, and I can't return to heaven. Then he opened his mouth and instructed. In the future, you guys should listen to Yurong's words and assist her in taking the peak master's seat. Got it all memorized? Sun Yunyang and the others looked at each other and responded in a deep voice. Disciples, bear this in mind. Well, I'm a little tired too, so you guys leave. Ji Yu nodded her head in satisfaction and raised her hand to lightly wave, signaling Qian Yurong and the others to leave. As her cultivation escaped, her energy and physical body were not what they used to be. Qian Yurong bowed his head and turned around to quickly leave the peak master's hall. She desperately wanted to see the sect master and plead for his help to save Ji Yu. Seeing Qian Yurong's appearance, how could Chu Waist and Sun Yunyang not guess what was in their hearts? After looking at each other, they all followed. After hesitating for a split second, Qin Lan also took a step to chase after him. At first, after seeing Qian Yurong recover from his injuries, she had also vaguely guessed that Qian Yurong had joined the Dragon Ambergris sect, and confirmed it later from the mouth of Chu Waist. Chapter 92 Qian Yurong's request. Qian Kingdom's royal daughter voluntarily becomes a handmaiden. Inside the secret room at the back of Red Luan Peak, Qian Yurong's 4 daughters gathered together. However, at this moment, Qian Yurong was frowning at Qin Lan. She didn't realize that Qin Lan was also a member of the church. About the Dragon Ambergris cult, she vowed not to speak to anyone outside the sect. At this time, Qin Lan was here, so there were some things she couldn't say out loud. Eldest sister, I am also a member of the Dragon Ambergris cult. Facing Qian Yurong's gaze, Qin Lan opened his mouth to explain. What? You're even? Qian Yurong opened his mouth in shock. In the end, she was surprised to realize that she was the last one to join the Dragon Ambergris sect among the several sisters, and the last to know about it. Well, when my origin was damaged, it was only with the help of the sect leader that I recovered. Qin Lan nodded his head. I see. Qian Yurong suddenly realized that she was clear about Qin Lan's damaged origin. She then looked around at the Chu Waist trio and said in a deep voice, Master Teacher has been as kind to me as a mountain, and has treated you all well. We can't watch her just turn into a mortal and die of old age. Eldest sister, I know you want to beg the sect leader for help, but I can't fully guarantee whether the sect leader will agree. Chu Waist responded in a deep voice. I must save my master. If the sect master doesn't agree, I'll go beg the sect master. Even if I have to be a slave or a servant girl, I'm willing. Qian Yurong's teeth clenched as she said in a deep voice. Its face was resolute, and it looked like it had already made up its mind. Chu Waist's heart stirred as he secretly said, if eldest sister is willing to be a maidservant, with my understanding of the sect leader will most likely agree. On the side, a trace of surprise appeared on Sun Yunyang's face. Their eldest sister had a strong personality, and under normal circumstances it was impossible for her to recognize anyone else as her master. I didn't expect that this time, for the sake of the master, it could go to such an extent. Immediately afterward a sense of crisis rose in the bottom of her heart. If eldest sister became a maidservant like her, would she steal the work from her hands? That's a lot less she can get out of it. Eldest sister, don't be in a hurry. Wait for me to go back and inquire about the sect master's meaning first. Chu Waist spoke out to pacify. Good, I'm counting on you first in this matter. Qian Yurong grabbed Chu Waist's hand with a pleading look in his gaze. Don't worry, senior sister. I know what to do. Chu Waist nodded gently and turned to leave the chamber. Eldest sister, I'm just as worried about Master Teacher as you are, so don't worry. I'll go and beg the sect leader as well. Sun Yunyang pacified Qian Yurong and followed her away. She had to inform the sect leader of this matter first, so that she would not be robbed by Chu Waist and take sole credit for it. She's going to fish for some soup anyhow. Eldest sister need not worry too much. Sect leader, he possesses a very broad love. When he saved me in the first place, it was all without asking for anything in return. Odds are that he will agree to help sect leader. The last remaining Qin Lan spoke out to comfort. Immediately after its words turned, frowning, actually, I'm more worried about whether or not Master Zun, she will agree to join the Dragon Ambergris sect, and in case it doesn't, what are we going to do? After all, to Master Teacher, it's long since made Red Luan Peak and even the Great Extreme Bliss Immortal sect her home, and to have her join another sect just to stay alive would be an extremely difficult thing to do. Qian Yurong was stunned and also realized where the problem was. At first, when she was faced with the persuasion of both Chu Waist and Sun Yunyang, she was also completely unconvinced at first. Even when she finally tasted the sweet benefits, when faced with a request to join the religion, she simply refused. In the end, under the duo's continuous persuasion, plus her desire to repay her teacher's favor, she reluctantly agreed to join the Dragon Ambergris sect. However, The master's affection for Red Luan Peak was extremely deep, and it had its own opinions. With her understanding of her master's father, it would be extremely difficult to persuade him even if several of their sisters were to persuade him together. There is no way that master would betray the division just to stay alive. Though in their current view, there was no relationship between joining the Dragon Ambergris sect and betraying their division. But their masters would not be easily convinced. Qian Yurong gritted his teeth. If we can't move master teacher by talking to him, even if we have to tie him up, we have to tie him up in front of the sect leader. Qinlan looked at Qian Yurong in shock. Senior sister, aren't we deceiving our master by doing so? If I really have to bear this charge alone, let me do it, for the sake of master teacher, even if it means letting me die, not to mention such a crime. Qian Yurong replied solemnly. Although her action was a great disrespect to her master, she was trying to save him and did not think she had done anything wrong. Eldest sister, do it together. I won't let you take it on alone. Qinlan spoke. Senior sister just doesn't understand our Dragon Ambergris sect. As long as it's truly joined the Dragon Ambergris sect, it will know how good the sect master is. What senior sister said is extremely true. Qian Yurong nodded approvingly. This was something she knew well and had the most say in. Then the matter will be settled thus for now, and in case the master does not agree, he will forcefully bring it to the sect leader. Also be careful to avoid senior uncle so that she doesn't notice anything unusual. Qinlan had given more thought to it, and had even taken G drunken butterfly into consideration. We can branch out when we plan to act. Qian Yurong replied in a deep voice. Good. Qinlan nodded heavily. The two dutiful disciples had thus decided the fate of their master. Inside the cave, Yi Ba, who was assisting Qilin, Qi Hongyue, and Tang Xiahan in their cultivation, received messages from Chu Waist and Sun Yunyang one after another. The three of them, Qilin and Qi Hongyue, couldn't wait to come to him just after the grand competition. The three men waited in the cultivation room like dogs who wanted to be rewarded by their masters after winning a race. Yi Ba was also somewhat speechless at this. I thought to myself that the addiction to cultivation is also so great. These three are trying too hard to get ahead. Yi Ba temporarily let the three people cultivate alone, while he himself took out the two Chu Waist's transmission notes one after another to check. After listening to all the contents inside again, he was also able to figure out the cause and effect. People sit at home. Joy comes from the sky. Yi Ba's face showed joy. As the head of a peak, Ji Yu's talent couldn't be bad in any way. Moreover, taking down Ji Yu was equivalent to taking down the entire Red Luan Peak. At that time, he would still be able to do whatever he wanted in Red Luan Peak and do whatever he wanted. A lot of things can be let loose in a big way. As for Qian Yurong taking the initiative to ask to be a slave and a servant girl, of course she herself was going to fulfill her. You can't refuse a handmaiden who comes to your door. He is helping others as well as himself. It was only that a thin camel was bigger than a horse, and without knowing how much of Ji Yu's cultivation was left today, he still needed to be cautious. I can drag it out for a while so that Ji Yu's cultivation continues to fall, Yi Ba muttered. This had another advantage. The lower Ji Yu's cultivation level was, the easier it would be to establish subordination. Otherwise the Ji Yu in the middle stage of Jiadan, if he wanted to establish a subordination with it, he didn't know how long it would take. In case of an accident during that time, it would not be good. Chapter 93, Your master is seriously injured and needs to use too much strength. Junior sister, is there still no news from the sect leader's side? 5 days have already passed. Inside the secret room at the back of Red Luan Peak, Qian Yurong frowned at the Chu Waist in front of him. Chu Waist gently nodded his head and explained. Senior sister, I've already informed the sect master about what happened to Senior, and the sect master's meaning is that he'll have to think about it. Pausing for a split second, Chu Waist's face showed a trace of difficulty. I'm not good at overly rushing the sect masters, in case it causes the sect master to be unhappy. She didn't say the latter words explicitly, but thought Qian Yurong should be able to understand. Qian Yurong clenched her teeth, and at this moment it was as if she had made some sort of determination. In a deep voice, he said, I'll go beg the sect master. Sect master's cultivation is escaping daily, and the longer it drags on, the more harm it will do to sect master. Sect master has other things to be busy with lately, so he doesn't have time to see us for the time being. Chu Waist replied. Of course, those were the words the bishop told her to say. The purpose is to stall for time. Qian Yurong was stunned. In the past, when the sect leader helped them cultivate, but they were rarely without time. What's going on now? Junior sister, is the sect master deliberately avoiding me? Qian Yurong vaguely realized something and questioned out loud. Chu Waist deliberately showed a hint of difficulty on his face. Junior sister, you talk to me. Master teacher isn't thin on you either. We can't watch master teacher go on like this. Qian Yurong stepped forward and pulled Chu Waist's hand and said with a straight face. Senior sister, I understand everything you said, and I also don't want anything to happen to my senior. Chu Waist frowned and responded softly. followed by a sigh. Alas! At first, the sect master was willing to help, but after hearing about senior elder's injuries, the sect master was a bit hesitant and said that he would have to think about it. It seems to be that saving the master's life requires a tremendous amount of energy from the sect leader. You also know that master's injuries can't be saved at all by ordinary means. Chen Yurong's face revealed a trace of dawning realization. Instantly understanding. Secretly, he said, yes, the injuries of the senior master are so serious that it must cost more to save them. What the junior sister said makes sense. Looks like I misunderstood her. Thinking of this, a trace of guilt rose in the bottom of her heart. I'm sorry, little senior sister. I misunderstood you just now. It's fine, senior sister. I know that you are also worried about the matter of your senior, but this matter can't be rushed. We can only wait for news from the sect master's side. Don't worry, senior sister. I'll be the first to tell senior sister when the sect master has news. Chu Waist shook his head and emphasized once again. Well, I believe in senior sister. We can only rely on you now. Qian Yurong nodded solemnly. 5 days later, same place. Junior sister, has the sect master not returned the news yet? No. Chu Waist shook his head. Half a month later, or the backwoods chamber. Junior sister, master's cultivation has fallen to the middle stage of foundation establishment. Has Lord Sect leader still not replied? Qian Yurong pulled Chu Waist's hand, her eyes revealing a color of anticipation. Chu Waist still shook his head. Junior sister, master can't wait. Senior sister begs you, request with the sect master to let me see him. As long as junior sister helps me accomplish this, I will never trouble junior sister again in the future. Qian Yurong said in a deep voice. What are you talking about? Senior sister, where is the trouble between us? I will go back and request the sect master, but whether it will succeed or not, I can't guarantee it. Chu Waist nodded in agreement. A month later, Chu Waist took the initiative to find Qian Yurong. There was a look of worry on her face. Eldest sister, how is it going over there with master? Qian Yurong shook his head. The situation is very unpromising. Master's cultivation is escaping faster and faster. Now it has fallen to the early stage of foundation establishment. Eldest sister, I received a reply from the sect leader here. He will have time in a month, so you will be able to meet him then. Chu Waist said in a deep voice. In a month's time, master teacher will almost be able to fall to the chi practicing stage, in line with sect leader's expectations. Chu Waist murmured in his heart. A month? Qian Yurong frowned, thinking that this time was too long. Eldest sister, this time the sect leader is giving you a chance. You must seize it. As long as the sect leader makes a move, even if senior sister becomes mortal, then there's still hope for salvation. Chu Waist spoke out to urge. Right, you're right, junior sister. With the sect leader's ability, as long as he or she makes a move, master teacher will definitely be saved. 1 month is 1 month. I'll wait. Qian Yurong nodded heavily, feeling that what Chu Waist had said was very reasonable. 1 month later, light flickered on the teleportation array inside the cave, and when the light dissipated, Qian Yurong's figure appeared in it. It wore a purple golden robe and a golden goddess mask on its face, and underneath the mask, its face looked a bit haggard. She walked out of the teleportation array and straightened her clothes, then walked towards the room where Yi Ba was. My lord preceptor, I am Arigato. Come in. Inside the room, Yi Ba waved his hand to open the protective spell formation outside the room. Qian Yurong folded his hands in front of the small of his back and stepped into the house. She kept her head down so she couldn't see her toes. Yurong pays his respects to sect master. Qian Yurong bent down and saluted. Well, I heard Chu Waist say that you were anxious to see me? Yi Ba gently nodded his head and inquired. Lord Sect leader, you should already know about my master's matter. I would like to request Lord Sect leader to lend a hand and help my master. The pleading intent in Qian Yurong's tone was very obvious. Yi Ba frowned, and after a moment of contemplation, he said, Yurong, your master's dantian was pierced by heavenly lightning. Her injuries are more serious. Saving her will take too much of my strength and time. There are other members of the church who need my help. Sure enough, little senior sister is right. Rescuing master teacher does require too much energy from the sect leader, and the sect leader is somewhat reluctant because of this. Qian Yurong secretly said in his heart, completely understanding the reason. Lord Sect leader, please save my master. I can persuade her to join our sect. Qian Yurong bent both knees and knelt in front of Yi Ba, pleading. This, Yi Ba pretended to be difficult. Lord Sect leader, as long as I can save my master, I will do whatever you ask me to do. From now on, my life, Qian Yurong, is the sect leader's. Qian Yurong knelt and walked forward, grabbing Yi Ba's pants leg. A strand of tears dripped down from underneath the mask onto his chest, and slid into the deep ravine and disappeared. Yi Ba was silent. I'll give a shoulder and leg rub. Qian Yurong continued to plead. and began to move his hands to squeeze Yiba's legs. But to be honest, this Qian Kingdom's imperial daughter's methods were really not good. Its technique is not 1/10 as good as Sun Yunyang's. Might as well not pinch. Seeing that Yiba remained unmoved, Qian Yurong became anxious and cried even harder. She didn't know what else she had to offer the patriarch. In her opinion, even if she were to give all of herself to the sect leader, with the sect leader's cultivation eyesight, she would not be able to see it. But she would not give up. Master's life must be saved. She gritted her teeth and called her divine soul right out. I would like to be a slave and a servant for the Lord Sect leader. Yes. Yiba nodded his head and directly placed a slave seal on Qian Yurong's divine soul. Qian Yurong was stunned. Lord Sect leader, this is a promise. She hadn't been ready just yet, and the Lord Godfather's spell casting was too fast. But it was good that the Godfather had agreed. Her master was saved. Chapter 94. Open your mouth. Master, I miss your heart of sincerity, so I'll help you once this time. Yiba spoke softly. He was tricking Qian Yurong as an islander. Thank you, Sect Master. In the future, Yurong will definitely serve you well. Qian Yurong said gratefully. Well, just go back and bring your master teacher here. I will heal her wounds myself. Yiba nodded his head, and in the end, he didn't forget to instruct. You know the rules. You need your master's father to take the Heavenly Tao Oath in advance and join the Dragon Ambergris sect. Although he had learned from Chu Waste that Jiyu's cultivation had fallen to the Qi refining stage. However, Yiba was still cautious and wanted Jiyu to take the Heavenly Tao Oath. At that time, Chu Waste and Sun Yunyang would also be present to supervise, so that it's foolproof. Yurong understands. Qian Yurong nodded heavily and thanked Yiba once again before turning around and leaving in quick steps. After returning to the secret room in the back of the mountain, Qian Yurong called over several Sun Yunyang at the first opportunity. With a joyful look on his face, he said, the sect master has already agreed to my request. Now we only need to send our master to the sect master, and the sect master will reach out to help. What do you few have in mind? We have to take advantage of senior uncle's absence to strike. Otherwise, if we are discovered by senior uncle, with his strong character, there will be trouble behind us. Xin Lan voiced a reminder. Sun Yunyang nodded. What senior sister said is true, but I've inquired in advance. Tomorrow senior uncle will take Bu Shanghua out to behead the demons, and probably won't be back until the day after tomorrow, in order to show her worth in front of the Godfather afterwards and gain rewards. She thought of basically everything she could think of. Then let's wait until tomorrow. After senior uncle leaves, we'll do it right away. Qian Yurong immediately clapped his hands. Immediately afterward, he continued. There's another thing. The sect master needs master to first take the Heavenly Tao Oath to join the Dragon Ambergris sect. Xin Lan shook his head. With master teacher's feelings for the sect, it would be unrealistic to let her join the Dragon Ambergris sect. It would be worse for her than killing her. I used to listen to her, but this time I can't leave it up to my master. When the time comes, I'll force her to take the Heavenly Tao Oath with my death. Qian Yurong gritted his teeth, already determined. This time, whatever she said, she had to save her master. Eldest sister is right. When the time comes and we all force ourselves to die, I don't believe that master would disregard our lives. Sun Yunyang nodded approvingly. Yes, we'll all fight to the death. Xin Lan echoed, his face resolute. The following morning, after Ji Drunken Butterfly left Red Luan Peak, several women, Sun Yunyang, came to the Peak Master's Hall to find Qian Yurong. Now Qian Yurong had become the new Red Luan Peak Master. Its weekdays to deal with the affairs of the sect were in the Peak Master's Great Hall. Ji Yu, on the other hand, was enjoying the rest of her life in a side hall behind the Peak Master's Hall. Upon seeing Sun Yunyang's trio, Qian Yurong immediately got up and led the trio to the back inside the side hall. Master, disciple has something to find you. Qian Yurong spoke in a respectful voice outside the door. Well, come in. Ji Yu spoke softly, her voice slightly weak. Qian Yurong pushed the door and after all the people had entered, he raised his hand to turn on the protective formation of the side hall. Seeing his four disciples so exuberant, Ji Yu was a little puzzled in her heart. Opening his mouth, he inquired, what's the matter with you guys? Master, our senior sisters have discovered a spirit medicine that can heal your injuries and would like to ask you to try it. Qian Yurong spoke in a respectful voice and took out a large jade bottle. This is the leftover liquid collected by Chu Waste. Although it wasn't a first hand, and might even have some impurities, there was no better way to do it today, so he could only delegate to his master first. You guys Ji Yu shook her head in relief, but didn't want to try. I see that each of you is so filial nowadays. I'm already very content. As for the wounds on my body, I have released them, and you should be like me. During this period of time, she had unloaded the burden of being the Peak Master, and her entire state of mind had changed drastically. It has also come to terms with its current fate. Nowadays it's all about living the rest of your life in peace. However, she was still very pleased with the few disciples who remembered her. No, Master, This is something we've begged for you with great difficulty. You must try it. Qian Yurong expressed his refusal. Then he persuaded. Back then, I was also about to give up on treating my injuries. Or was it Master Teacher who told me not to give up? Now that it's Master Teacher's turn, how can you give up? This. Ji Yu was stunned, not realizing that his eldest disciple was using the words he had once said to make things difficult for himself. She then laughed softly and nodded. I'll give it a try then. It was not good for her to directly disappoint the disciple's piece of filial piety, and it wouldn't hurt her to try. Seeing Ji Yu agree, a smile appeared on several of Qian Yurong's faces. Qian Yurong directly pulled the cork off the jade bottle and lifted it up, reminding, Master, open your mouth. Her master's dantian was damaged, and now there was no way for her to even use her mana, or else it would cause her spiritual energy to escape even faster. It would have to be her instead. Ji Yu's heart skipped a beat. Such a large jade bottle was half a man's height. Can her stomach drink that much? It's not going to burst her, is it? But the eye saw that Qian Yurong had already tipped over. She could only rush to catch it with her mouth open. What a familiar smell. The moment the entrance was made, Ji Yu's heart was flooded with doubts. The texture she couldn't say, but the smell was a sense of déjà vu. Suddenly, her eyes glazed over and she instantly realized. The heart exclaimed, this is Yuan Yang. The moment it froze, it forgot to swallow, and actually accidentally let the contents of its mouth spill out. Master, quickly drink it. Don't waste it. Sun Yunyang stepped forward to remind, while carefully ingesting the overflowing spirit liquid onto her own fingers before licking it into her mouth. There was a flash of reminiscence on his face. Hearing the reminder, Ji Yu hurriedly swallowed. It was just that she was puzzled as to what use Yuan Yang could be. She had never heard that Yuan Yang could also heal injuries, but now that it's happened, and you've drunk it all, you can only go on with it. That said, it was the first time she had ever eaten the stuff. A few moments later, until the last drop at the bottom of the bottle slipped off and was swallowed by Ji Yu. Ji Yu's entire body was uncomfortable and gasped. For Master, I can't drink anymore. Master is ready. You only need to run your energy to absorb the medicinal power now. Qian Yurong put away the jade bottle and reminded in a voice. Yes. Ji Yu nodded her head, and now she felt like her stomach was going to burst. Don't even dare to talk much for fear of spilling out of your mouth. She sank her heart and began to run her gongfu to absorb the benefits.